within and surrounding Baltimore. Don't ask him about preseason games, oh no. Stuffing things in Griffin Basso. Despite it being on the internet, he can call it what he wants, so Glenn Clark Radio. Glenn Clark Radio. Glenn Clark Radio. Duke sucks.
Good morning. It is a Tuesday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. I am Glenn Clark. He is Griffin Bass. We got you for the next couple of hours. A lot to do on the program, including, Steve Blake is going to join us. You're probably aware Steve Blake wants the job. At least says he's available for it. If I know Steve, and I'm not trying to portray him, by no means am I close with Steve Blake.
That's not what you told me.
That's not at all.
you guys
Don't
go
try
out
to make this like a Windhorse thing where LeBron James, there's weirdos out here telling people that we're best friends.
You played high school ball with him,
No,
didn't you?
I certainly didn't. Although he was coached by Frank Martin. That was a thing. No, I'm not close with Steve in any way, but I've had conversations with Steve over the years, and if there's one thing, I don't think it requires you to have had conversation with Steve to know Steve is an intense dude. He is not this was not an April Fool's joke, Steve Blake saying that he was available for the job. He wants the job. I have no doubt that that's true. So I'm looking forward to chatting with him about it. And you know, how he overcomes the fact that he doesn't have college coaching experience, and why it's important to him, and he's not the only one, that it be a Maryland person who gets the job. We saw Len Elmore wrote an open letter about that yesterday, which was very interesting to me. I get it. I get the emotions involved. So I look forward to talking all about that with Steve Blake when he joins us a little bit later on this hour. Also coming up today, it's Tuesday, so Patrick Stevens will join us. He'll tell us a little bit more about Maryland's search, the 4 teams that are left going into this weekend, what my chances are. I believe if I get all 3 games correct this weekend, I'm not in good shape in the bracket contest.
Get all 3 games correct.
But if I get all 3 games right, if it's Houston beating Florida in the national championship game, I do still think I'll win the bracket contest.
So happy for you.
Jeez, man. Like, what, you want Duke to win because you picked them to win? You're a terrible person.
I really just don't want you to win.
Wow. Thanks a lot.
No, I mean that, yeah.
I mean, I was thinking about putting that money towards parking at the baseball game yesterday. Had a little incident yesterday, but otherwise a great day. Also on the program today, our friend Katie Pumphrey, who I love. You guys know that. I'm so enamored with her strength, her fortitude, and I can't believe that Katie Pumphrey is getting back in. I say can't believe it. This is what she does. She's a marathon swimmer. She's once again going to swim 24 miles from the bay to the Inner Harbor, which is nuts. But I look forward to chatting about that with Katie Pumphrey and why she's choosing once again to do that. So that's all coming up on the program today. We had a nice day yesterday. Had a lovely day. The weather held up, even though Griffin wasn't prepared like the dads were.
Like I said, it was going to hold up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew.
You got lucky. You knew what
I was doing.
Weather held up, obviously. The baseball game was very entertaining. No, Cade Povich didn't get him the innings.
What more can you ask for, honestly?
Innings would be what more you could ask for.
Yeah, but I mean, who gives you innings at this point? Brady Singer went 7 yesterday. That's going to happen like twice all season.
What, his first start?
Yeah.
Jeez,
it's going to happen twice all season.
But he hit that strikeout number that you told me Trippy was all over. So you and Trippy rolling in it. Right. Griffin won a bet yesterday.
Yeah, that's right.
He hit a lesser number. He wasn't quite as
exactly.
As
I said Cape Povich would get 3 strikeouts.
Well, he did.
He did.
So you nailed that.
The first 2 innings. It was good.
Pleasant day all around. Griffin was there as I was mulling over who could be man of the match. He got to experience it live. He was really campaigning for it to be Felix Bautista. He was like, dude, he's going to come running out. The place is going to go nuts.
Well, then they scored 5 runs.
It's got to be Bautista. Yeah, I had said to you, if it stays a 1-run game and Felix Bautista comes in and gets the save, I feel bad for Tyler O'Neill because he would have had a 4-hit game. But if it was a 1-run game and Felix Bautista on opening day with the electricity and everything, he would have gotten it. But yes, not only was it not a 1-run game, but then on top of that, it was a rough 9th inning for Felix Bautista. Get it out of your system. But ultimately, with all respect to Tyler O'Neill, who's clearly off to a tremendous start and had a great day yesterday, 2 incredibly massive hits. To take nothing away from, like, Heston Kjerstad had a huge hit in the 8th inning. He needed that desperately because he was having a really bad day up until that point, striking out a couple times with 2 runners on base. That was a big hit for him. And everything that happened in the first inning was very good. But the big ones, after, like, it looked like the Orioles were in shape for at least a 4-run inning in the first because they had second and third and nobody out. And then 2 guys go down back-to-back. Yeah. And you still have second and third, and you're ready to turn what should have been a massive inning into a nothing burger. Not a nothing. 2 runs is still good, but a disappointment. When this team needed big hits yesterday, the guy that delivered both of them, 2-run double in the first, 2-run single in the 8th inning, Cedric the Entertainer, Cedric Mullins, man of the match.
Cedric!
Love that guy, man. I get a little emotional. You probably remember it from when Ced was on with us last July, and he's done. He's come on with a few times over the years. The first player that like my son said was their favorite Oriole, and
that's just like when they're announcing everybody, and you hear Kevin Brown say his 8th season as an Oriole, you're like, he's been here 8 years.
Yeah, and as I've been through some health stuff and ups and downs, but has consistently delivered. And as we talk about, the Cedric the Entertainer thing is perfect because just watching the dude play baseball makes you happy because of the ground he covers in center field, because of his activity on the base paths, because he has a knack for big hits. Yes, I know he's been through droughts and slumps during his Orioles career. I'm quite aware of it. I am quite aware of the awkwardness of why everyone believes that this season is it for Cedric Mullins in Baltimore, that he just happens to be a little bit older because he originally got to the bigs and then went back down and went through those trials and tribulations. And so now it's tough to commit real money to a center fielder who's already in his third. I understand the conversation, but this one would hurt. God, I love Cedric Mullins, man. Like, it might not be Adam Jones because Adam is sort of the legacy of the Mr. Oriole concept, right? And like Brooks to Cal to Adam was the first one we had post-Cal that was genuinely a Mr. Oriole. I don't know that Cedric Mullins is Mr. Oriole because he doesn't have the same personality. He doesn't have the same – it's not his thing, right? Like, he's not loud. He's not – active on social media. He's not any of those things the way that Adam was. But damn, dude, he's everything that you want in a baseball player. Gotta love that guy. Love that guy. And it was, you get emotional. You do. Like, this is why you love baseball, right? Is because you fall in love with baseball players. And that guy, he's the bee's knees. Yeah, first man of the match of the season for Cedric Mullins. Great day. Really great day. Yeah, I mentioned Cade Povich. You'd like him to go deeper. I'm more inclined to give Cade Povich a pass for that than I am to give some of these other guys. The 2 veterans, Charlie Morton, Dean Kramer. And he was a little bit better than those guys were, despite not working deep into the game. Walking Rafael Devers twice, not him, but as a team, he walked him once. That is something. I can't get a hit. Walking him twice. What are we doing here? Some fundamental issues. Obviously, Ramon Laureano had a eventful day. Not exactly endearing himself in his first game in front of the home crowd.
Does walk up to the Good Bad Bunny song. So
Yeah, Griffin. By the way, that was a very funny moment when Griffin was very invested in what the walk-up songs were. And he said, I miss Tyler O'Neill's. And I said, right, I wonder what Ramon Laureano's is going to be. And I swear to God, I said, I bet it's something by Bad Bunny. And sure enough.
And I said, what do you mean by that?
Sure enough.
I mean, it was. You were right.
It was something by Bad Bunny.
I think you had some inside information.
I did not, actually. This was stereotyping. I'm not going to lie. Latin player. Bad Bunny is very popular in the Latin community. I just had a funny feeling that might be the way that it would go. He's very popular in lots of communities. It's not just the Latin community, for the record. He's very popular with the whites. He's very popular with the blacks. He's very popular everywhere, but particularly popular in the Latin community. And so I did do a bit of stereotyping in that moment. You're probably correct about that. But winner, winner, chicken dinner, as he went with Bad Bunny. So that was a humorous moment yesterday. Yeah, tough day, obviously. It was a very difficult play, the one that he couldn't catch in foul territory in right field. Like, I'm not trying to say that was easy and that you have to catch that ball, but he was there. It's a ball you should catch. And then, obviously, the throw to third. And that's an adventure all around. It's a bad throw. It's a throw that probably doesn't – it feels like now you're overcompensating for having not caught the ball in right field. And so now you're trying to do something magical. And maybe that explains why nobody was in position to try to cut it off. And then there's no backup. There's nobody right there. Like, just a mess.
Did you see, this is unrelated, but there was a Southern Miss over the weekend, I think. No. I forget who they were playing, but Southern Miss walked off somebody.
Oh, good for them.
And but it was a walk-off sac fly because it was like a it was shallowish. It was moderate depth, the right field, and the right fielder comes over, makes the catch. He has to be a perfect throw at home to try to get the out. Otherwise, Southern Miss is going to win. He launches the ball 20 rows over the dugout. Like, it was...
It was like Felix Batista's one pitch yesterday.
Yeah.
That could have gone 20 rows.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
I thought that actually might ricochet all the way back to second base and have a chance to... get the runner.
I wonder how you score that if if it goes all the way back.
I guess just a pickoff. I don't know what you call it.
But oh gosh, this right fielder just launched the ball.
Hey man,
it you didn't see it land because it went.
Boys get that syrup in them, you know. That happens. So yeah, there's that. Ramon Laureano had a tough day. We'll see the usage of him, Heston Kjerstad, and Dylan Carlson moving forward. It was Tyler O'Neill in left field, as you had speculated yesterday, and so I think that is probably a sign of what the plans are. I think that is likely. Ramon Laureano will be in there against lefties, and they're going to continue to try to find ways to have Heston Kjerstad in the lineup. And I think all of us would say that's a good thing. That's exactly what you should be doing. Does that get impacted at all when Gunnar comes back and they'll want Ramon Arias in the lineup against lefties? So he would probably have to DH, and that might mean that Kjerstad comes out of the lineup against lefties on those days. Or they use, I say he's going to DH, or it could be a day where like Westberg DHs as a sort of day off for some of those guys, whether it's Westberg or Gunnar or Jackson. Like, to the point, I think they'll want Ramon in the lineup against lefties. So that's all I'm really saying. I'm saying he would be the DH, but I don't think it requires him being the DH. He just would be in the lineup somehow. But I do think that there is at least a somewhat of a commitment that Heston Kjerstad's going to be in the lineup. And that really was massive. Like, you could sense he needed that. It was a bad day. And I get it. It's tough for him. That's a lefty-lefty matchup. Thankfully, ironically, it's another lefty that protects him in the first inning and gets the job done. But that's big. It's big for him. So hopefully he builds off of that and keeps that going. And that gets Heston Kjerstad moving. It was presented to me by ended up at trivia last night after, and it was presented to me like, hey, I know we're disappointed by the 2 games they've lost, which, like, this is baseball. You're going to lose games. That's the way that it goes.
They shouldn't lose games, though.
The way that it
Dodgers
said
don't
was,
lose games.
yeah, that's a good point. My buddy said, isn't it encouraging, though, that they're doing this much offensively without Gunnar Henderson? Like, if every other game they've produced massive outpourings of runs without
double-digit hits, whatever. Yeah,
without Gunnar Henderson. Yeah, even on Sunday where they only scored 1 run. What, do they have 10 hits?
I think so.
It was 9 or 10.
Yeah.
How encouraging is that the offense is this good? And I said, yeah, I mean, sure, right? Like
9 hits.
9 hits, okay. It is. I agree. And yesterday in particular, what I think a lot of people would point out was how encouraging it was they scored 8 runs without a single home run, which a year ago when the Orioles were, killing it offensively to start the season, one of the things that we were pointing out was, are they too reliant on the home run? And then by the end of the year, we're like, no, you guys are still allowed to hit home runs. We weren't saying you can't hit them. That wasn't this year. The first couple of games, like obviously on opening day, it was home run, home run, home run, home run. Yeah, it was nice yesterday to see a team score 8 runs without. We're not used to that with the modern
hitting with runners and
Orioles.
scoring.
Yes, getting big. That's why the Cedric. There's nothing better than a clutch hit. Like I know we love home runs. I know Chicks did
double over the weekend.
That the clutch hits, just delivering in the spot, is the best thing in baseball. Like, it's the thing. I'm telling you, you get goosebumps about that type of stuff because that's what we love home runs. If you can hit a home run, by the way, I get it. Cedric Mullins hits a home run there. It's another run. Like, I understand the value of hitting home runs. But in the spot, that was what was missing on Sunday, obviously. You had plenty of activity on the base paths, but didn't have the big hits. The big hits are baseball. To the point, even if they weren't hits, if Heston Kjerstad had just hit a fly ball to right field yesterday in the first inning, plated the run, allowed the runner to move to third, and then Ramon Laureano had hit a fly ball to right field and scored the other run, we would have been fine. Back-to-back sac flies there to make it 4 runs would have been perfectly acceptable. We would have been good. Getting the job done in those spots. That was the thing yesterday. Getting the job done. Even when they already got the 2-run double or the 2-run single from Cedric Mullins, and Jackson Holliday added another RBI single. Getting the job done with runners in scoring position. Eternal blessings. That's direct right into your veins, man. Like, that's what you're looking for as a baseball fan. And give credit to everybody in the bullpen that came in yesterday. Everybody. It was a hell of an effort. Ironically, we were talking about Felix being the guy that would have been in line to be man of the match, but Yanier Cano was great. Matt Bowman's looked pretty decent in his first couple appearances as a Baltimore Oriole. I don't want to read too much into that or suggest that they found an answer, but we'll take it. Like, for now, that's a very good thing. Lots to like. Orioles off today, continue their series against the Red Sox tomorrow, and Zach Eflin gets back on the mound tomorrow, which is a good thing.
Good.
What do you mean, oh, good? What,
Well,
that is good.
I meant, yeah, oh, good.
I'm like, what are you talking about?
Did I say that in a way?
You did.
All
I'm
right.
telling you.
Well, I meant to say it in a way of, oh, good.
Yes, correct.
That's what I said, though.
It's I hear you, but it did not sound like that.
I said, oh, good.
It did not sound like that.
Why didn't Bowman get the win yesterday? Is that
What's
just is that one of the things where
you
the
have to go 5
scorekeeper-
innings to get a win?
Yeah, but Bowman.
Right, Bowman was the first pitcher in after.
Yeah.
So the first guy in if the starter doesn't go 5 innings, the first pitcher in after the starter gets credited with the win.
Well, they gave it to Dominguez.
What?
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't make any
I
sense.
just peeked at the box score and I was like, what? Why did Dominguez?
Oh, that might be. They might have changed it to it's a score. The
it's a
scorer's
discretion?
judgment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's
Which-
what I was. But
Which
I still don't know.
Makes no sense whatsoever. And we've talked about this before.
Should just give it to Povich.
Yes. Like, now the more correct part is this is all why wins don't matter. This is
Right.
all why the stat is irrelevant, because I understand why you don't want to give a starting pitcher a win for not going 5 innings, because you don't want to reward someone for what wasn't necessarily a good start. Now, your argument is, hey, you got to change the way that we look at innings, and there's something to that. As long as what we're saying is we're not pretending like Katie Pumphrey was great yesterday. If you try to suggest
His
that
strikeout's pretty good.
he struck out a lot of guys.
8
He'll
to
take that.
strike out the walk ratio.
I understand, but he put 7 runners on base over 4 in the 3rd inning.
Yeah, well,
That's not
unless
good.
you're Brady Singer, it's,
Keep going. That's not just the innings. 7 guys on base over 4 in the 3rd. Even you can sort of do this math.
Oh yeah,
figure
sure. I mean,
out.
yeah, 5 years ago, I'd be like, wow, what the hell are we doing?
There is no world where a whip over 1.5 is something we're going to say is good. We're not going to do that. I get it. Like, we're not.
That was the era before torpedo bats existed. And
Great point. It's so funny how everybody was screaming about them until they all realized their teams were using them too. Objectively hilarious.
I mean,
bit.
De La Cruz last night.
Legitimately hilarious bit where everybody was screaming. And look, man, trust me, I hate the Yankees as much as everybody else does. But everybody's screaming about the Yankees and how, this must be baseball's colluding with them to cheat. And then they find out that like 3 guys on their team are also using torpedo bat. Orioles fans are like, the Orioles would never. And somebody's like, well, actually, Adley Rutschman is. Well, you see.
Apparently, Giancarlo Stanton used it last year, and like it just
and
didn't garner any attention.
Nobody
yeah.
noticed.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we haven't noticed a lot of things about Giancarlo Stanton, to be fair. He's been living in anonymity for the
That's
most
what they're saying.
part.
He used that bat last year, and it broke both his arms, so that's why he can't.
Might
Can't.
be a reason why you don't use it. Is there anything else that we needed to say about opening day? Great. Obviously the crowd was phenomenal.
Yeah, apparently a guy can't bring binoculars into the stadium anymore.
Oh man, we had. So there were 2 young ladies. I say young. I don't know how old they were. 30s, probably somewhere in their 30s.
Yeah, I don't know.
30s,
Who knows?
late 30s, mid 30s, early 30s. I don't know.
They were adults.
They were definitely adults. There's no question about that. They were adults, and they were maybe late 20s.
Yeah.
One of them might be in late 20s. The other one, I think one of them was definitively at least 30s.
Yeah.
Nice people, big baseball fans, having a lot of fun. I think the one sitting next to Griffin was sweet on him and just didn't want to say it. I have evidence
You have
that would
evidence.
suggest that. They were lovely. Griffin brought his binoculars with him to the game because we were sitting in the upper deck. We were in the front row, but we were in the upper deck.
I
Griffin,
usually try to, whenever I remember, I try to bring them to every sporting event I go to, just because
you never know what you're going to be.
And I like, I need it was so because PFF Sean, the one time we went to that UFC event, PFF Sean was giving me so much, crap for bringing my binoculars. He's like, why even need those? And then we get to the UFC event, and it's a small octagon compared to where we are, and it was, we both used them quite a lot. And
Okay.
I seemed very smart, and I was like, yeah.
Whatever.
I like, and
That's fine.
They're small too. They're very.
Griffin
portable.
pulled him out a few times during the course of the game to look at what was going on in the bullpen in particular. And he was giving me updates. Here's Keegan Akins warming up in the bullpen. Thanks, Griffin. Appreciate it.
Cino Perez stretches his legs.
Yeah,
Uh-oh.
Yeah, hopping and bopping. I used to do a bit. I've said before, I actually enjoy going to a game with Griffin.
Thanks.
I don't want to. I'm no longer at the age where I can do all of the. I can't. It's too much. The whole thing. But I still do enjoy doing some shtick and some bits and shtick during the course of a game. I still enjoy a good bit of that. And Griffin goes a little bit further than I would go, but I enjoy watching a game with Griffin. It's a fun person to watch a game with. And so he was keeping me updated on the bullpen with the binoculars. And then one of the young women said, "Would you get those from your grandfather?" And they were killing him. I mean, they were all over. And I loved it. It was phenomenal. I wanted to pile on. I started to make a monocle joke, and they were relentless. They weren't letting up on it. Oh, it made me. And then Griffin refused to pull the binoculars out the rest of the game.
Well, it was pretty late at that point.
Then he turtled up and said, I'm not giving you the pleasure of seeing the binoculars again. Yeah, you missed the part where you asked if they wanted to use. Do you want them?
Yeah.
which was a good retort in that situation. I give you that. You missed that the one gal said, "Oh, well, she, the girl that was sitting next to you, definitely once."
Oh,
She
okay.
was trying to let you on to the fact that the girl sitting next to you was a little sweet on you.
Gotcha.
That was
Okay.
what she
yeah,
was
I definitely
trying
missed
to.
that.
She was trying.
I was too flustered. It was.
Yeah, I know. You were caught in the moment. I understand. And I didn't know how reciprocal it would be, so I wasn't going to.
Oh, hey, push that forward.
I wasn't going
Gotcha.
to. I wasn't going
yeah.
to dive further in that moment. I was willing to leave it alone and just say, I'll let Griffin decide if that's the route that he wants to go. I'm not going to pile on here. If it had been Drew, by the way, he would have. Oh, it would have been uncomfortable. There was we went on a trip to Indianapolis once, and there was a young lady who was sweet on me, and Drew, like, explicitly was like pushing, and I'm like, dude, I've got a girlfriend. I can't do this. Like, this is not going to be a thing that occurs on this trip. And Drew's like, I got, because we were sharing a room, he's like, I got earbuds, no problem. Like, he was. The whole thing. I was not going to do that because I did not know that it would be one that you would have.
Yeah.
If it was Charlie D'Amelio,
Yeah, I guess
different
it would've been
kind of
different.
Dixie D'Amelio. That's your
Probably.
girl, right? You're a Dixie fan.
Yeah, I think so.
You're a Dixiecrat, I believe they call him.
That is what they call us.
That's what I've heard. That's what I've heard. So yeah, great day all around. Had a great time. Very difficult trying to get into pickles. Ooh, that was rough. We had to lie about Griffin still working at the radio station to get him into pickle. God bless Cordell Woodland.
Yeah.
Who
man.
may or may not know that you don't work at the radio station anymore. Like Cordell, because he's out doing all sorts of.
Yeah.
It's totally possible he still genuinely believes that like you come in and work some shifts from time to time. Like,
That was perfect timing, though.
yeah,
I mean,
Cordell just happened to be walking
yeah,
back.
we were like,
and,
well,
Cordell is like fighting with the security person. Like, no, they work at the radio station. The new PD was like not like he's like, yeah, well, he works there and he works there, but clearly does not recognize Griffin because Griffin does not work there. And so the new PD's like, well, yeah, they can come through, and Cordell's like, no, he does too.
appreciate Cordell.
Cordell was fighting for
Cordell
his boy
the man,
Griffin.
Obviously,
well, I love Cordell.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that. That's my guy.
Man.
I didn't. Oh man, I'm really worried about how mad Rita's gonna be at me because
we didn't see her.
yeah. Well, first of all, tempted. It's the thing I say about opening day. I attempted to see. I'm not going out of my way. That's the way it's gonna be. So I attempted to come over and see Rita. Rita had gone to go Dirty Dancing or whatever. Like she had already disappeared because there was a block party happening elsewhere, and she wanted to do some line dancing.
Was she at the parking garage?
Yeah, for the casino where there was. Oh, the bass was shaking the parking garage.
The whole thing was gonna come down.
It was wild. So then Rita said, well, I'm out. Because Rita does this. Like, I've said this before. Rita will have a seat and, like, maybe wander there for a minute, but then she'll start making the rounds. She likes making the rounds. And then first time the vibes are bad, she goes to the bar. Like, she buys a ticket and then just chooses to sit inside. And it was hot yesterday, so I get it. Like, in the air conditioning, out at whatever they call that thing now. I think it's the warehouse bar.
Check that, yeah.
Like, that's, oh, yeah, I was like, Griffin, I'm going upstairs. You do. Griffin went to the dollar menu. Like, he went to see everything. I'm like, I will be upstairs. I'll see you at the seat.
I barely did everything.
I will choose a game where there are fewer people there to get more of the lay of the land.
Yeah, that's probably a better.
It was
better
just a
route.
lot going on yesterday, not my scene. So I told Rita, text me. She's like, where you at? I said, we're up in whatever. And we were on the other side of the stadium. She said, look, if you're going to be there for a while, at some point I'll come say hello. But then the game was captivating.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was also moving quite quickly between the first or whatever. What inning did the Red Sox get their runs back?
Second inning.
Second inning.
And then
Third. I think they got another one in the third.
Yeah, they got two in the second, one in the third.
And so from the third to the eighth, the game was just flying, moving right along. And so then I realized, like, oh, I'm not getting down there. And I should have texted her to say, it's not happening. I'm sorry. And we needed to leave quickly afterwards because I had trivia last night. Like, I should have texted, I love you. I'm not getting down there. I tried to come see you. Your fault. But I didn't. And so I now know she's going to be mad at me. Because inevitably, this is what really happens is Rita tells her friends, like, oh, yeah, Glenn's coming down. And then they think, then they're mad at me because I let her down. And I'm like, damn it. They're right. I did. I have no retort for this.
Has she reached out since? Or
I was on a group text with her this morning, and she did not appear to be mad. But we'll see. We'll see. Rita also doesn't like it when I talk like this because then like there's the stereotype of the angry black woman, and she
Oh.
is not that. I promise you, she is not that. It's just like I did let her down. I did tell her I would try to come out to the bar and say hello, and I didn't. I failed. And like I love Rita. Rita's friends are some of my favorite people in the world. Like they could not be more supportive, and like they treat me like family, and so I feel terrible when I don't get to see them. So I'm a bad guy. I acknowledge bad guy on me.
Well, yes, yeah.
But other than that, great day. Great day. Really, really good.
Saw a
day.
Yankees fan get his ass.
Yeah, there was a
Pickles.
fight. There was a fight, and then literally a security guard physically pick him up and hold him like over the like. Sometimes
He
you
did a
see
good job.
somebody
He did it.
like picked him up and like held him over the crowd. It was wild, Jack. Wild. Santa was there. It was
Yeah,
a whole.
Santa was there.
It was a whole thing. But yeah, the thing where I was like texting with our buddy Steve Johnson, I did not bother to say at any point, yeah, we'll hook up. Just wasn't gonna happen. The big stadium, lots of people. You enjoy your day. I'll enjoy my
Had
day.
Terp splash, yeah.
Yeah. Griffin was very excited. It's like taking video of the first.
Well, my
pitch.
mom wanted to see.
Yeah,
She wanted to see Cheyenne Sellers.
I love Cheyenne Sellers. Don't get me wrong. Love Cheyenne Sellers. No actual news to my knowledge regarding the Maryland basketball search. I would say the buzz is dying a bit on one particular top candidate. The buzz, it's just it's dying a little bit.
I don't get it.
But nothing else news-wise. As we mentioned, Steve Blake is going to join us momentarily and make his pitch. And I know that, the people that are connected will probably say that there's just no way. And I acknowledge that Patrick Ewing, Jawan Howard, Chris Mullen, some of the well-known alums that have gotten opportunities, either guys who were basketball legends or national champions at their alma maters that have gotten opportunities in recent years, it's not gone well. I acknowledge that. And I think that hurts chances. As I said before, it's also very difficult to we forget that what we're talking about is the second highest paying state job. Like the stakeholders are the taxpayers. So it's easy for us to say, well, just get somebody who cares about the job. Okay, but you got to say to your stakeholders, this is why this person is qualified for this job, because he's going to be the second highest paid person in the state. But I'm going to listen to Steve Blake, and I think as everybody knows, I love Steve Blake. Who doesn't love Steve Blake? My God, he's one of the most popular players in Maryland basketball history. And I'll hear what he has to say. And I get the passion that's being shown by Maryland people right now. I know Gravis Vasquez supported him, and Torrey Smith's been very supportive, and there's a lot of Maryland people that are saying we need to be stakeholders in this. The only other news that was, I know at the owners' meetings this morning, they did approve both teams are going to see the ball in overtime no matter what.
I also saw they're going to now do the touchback to the 35 as well.
That got approved.
Yeah.
Oh, last night nobody thought that was getting approved.
Apparently, I saw Pelissero tweeted that it
Wow,
was approved.
that sucks.
That sucks.
I'm just going to be as frank about that as I
Because
possibly
it
can.
means we're moving forward with this. Apparently, the vote on the tush push has been tabled for now, so no.
Yeah, the
nothing-
word was
nothing
there was a lot of
official.
passion.
Yeah.
The expectation was that. So the idea of making and remember, a lot of people told us they thought this is the way this was going to go when we talked about it during the season. The NFL wants kickoffs, and they want kickoff returns. They want them to be a thing, to the point where if it has to be farcical to make them a thing, it will be farcical to make them a thing. And this is farcical. There's no way around it. Now, why do they want that? Because, as I said, when they changed the extra point rule, their stakeholders, the people that are buying commercials in NFL broadcasts, don't want that when a team scores a touchdown, the people that are watching the game now know there's like a 5-minute buffer, including extra point and kickoff, and the commercials to go to the bathroom, to go get stuff from the kitchen, to go do whatever you're going to do.
Switch to something else.
They
yeah.
want them watching the commercials. And so in order to do that, you got to get rid of the buffer, right? Like, we got to make the extra point. We had to farcically make that something else. To be fair, I don't know how much that's succeeded. I mean, like, it's still so rare that someone misses an extra point that.
Well, unless your kicker's from Baltimore, maybe.
And by the way, it might be a new one this year. Who knows if that could be an adventure. And then on the other side, they want the kickoff to be in play. And because of that, they want returns. And so now they're trying to penalize you. This is really dramatic now, late in game situations where, like, think it's basically a free first down in a late game drive. You score with 25 seconds left. You're now at a place where, like, you've got to make the kick returnable.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise, someone's 20 yards away from field goal range. So I hate it. I do. I hate it. I hate the idea of someone just being gifted the 35-yard line. I didn't like it when it was the 25, frankly. I mean, when growing up for me, touchback was the 20.
Yeah.
I don't like the 25. I hate that. Like, why are we gifting someone these yards? But the answer has always been because they eternally want kick returns, because they want people to have to watch the kickoffs. Because if you have to watch the kickoff, then you're more inclined to watch the commercials. That's the end of it. But yeah, they did so that, and then the overtime thing got approved, which is, although only half of it got approved.
Yeah, so
They're still going to figure out a way to screw this up. What they approved was the part of the rule where both teams are guaranteed to see the ball, which is exactly the way that it should be. We know that because that's the rule in the playoffs. So first team scores a touchdown, second team still gets the ball in overtime. The problem is they still kept it at 10 minutes. I'm assuming they're going to hide behind player safety, right? Like, which is just way too rich given everything else. The NFL wants to play games on the moon, and is going to use this as the thing. Like, none of us are interested in a game in the UAE, right? Like, nobody wants to see that. They're going to do it. They're going to go to Dubai for a football game. Like, that'll happen.
How long is that?
God knows. And that won't be where they step in and say, but player safety.
Well, so that's why they did the kickoff 30 to 35.
Right, because we need more returns for player safety.
They said the dynamic kickoff apparently less
right,
injury
but
risk.
If it's a kick, if it's a touchback, there's no risk.
I do. That's good. Well, wait a minute.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy, right?
Have you told
it's almost like
this?
They don't care at all. Until this, where randomly, suddenly, they're like, right, but player safety.
Well, and that's what they're hiding behind on the tush push ban, too. They're trying to say.
Well, somebody's trying to hide, but they're acknowledging they have no data. They're, like, nakedly trying to hide behind that.
They're like, we want to get out in front of this.
Yeah, but player safety, it could be a problem. Wanking motion. Yeah, so they're even in getting it right, they're screwing it up, because now there's the scenario of, okay, first team goes 7-minute touchdown drive. Like, second team.
You're the Eagles, 10-minute touchdown.
Yeah, responds, scores a touchdown on their first play. They're almost going to have to go for 2 because they know they're not going to see the ball again, right? Like, there's not going to be a game.
Mm-hmm.
They're basically just going to have to go for 2 in that spot. Now, you might say, hey, you're going to go for 2 anyway. And that really does become the fascinating part about this is with it staying at 10 minutes, is it better to have the ball second or third? That was the question that I was asking going into the playoffs. Is it better to have the ball second or third? Is it better to be the team that can go for 2 and end the game? Or is it better to be the team that could after both teams have seen the ball and scored touchdowns potentially or kick field goals, is it better to be the third team that has the ball?
Yeah. And now is that something where
with
it
being 10 minutes, I think you have to be the second team.
Yeah.
I think if you win the coin toss in overtime now, you have to defer. And it'll be something that we'll try to ask during the preseason, and when we talk to people, get their perspective on it. But my opinion now, if it being a 10-minute overtime, is you have to defer. Now, the danger is, what if you face a team that's really good at running the ball, and they can run all
You're facing the Eagles.
They can put together a 9-minute, 35-second touchdown drive. Then do you have to, if you're facing the Eagles, you have to take the ball for it? Does. There's a lot more strategy to be involved with the coin toss now in overtime. But they get the part right where both teams need to see the ball. They do not get it right with the time. It's just bonkers and badass. Speaking of things that are right, County Sports Zone will get you right for everything going on in high school sports. CountySports.zone is the website. Scores, schedules, rankings, everything you need to know. Spalding took one on the chin last week in lacrosse. Boys Latin got him. Go check it out right now. CountySports.zone, proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. When we come back in, Steve Blake, he's going to tell us more about why he's interested in returning to his alma mater as the head basketball coach. That's next. Glenn Clark Radio.
March is a slam dunk at Live Casino. Catch all the basketball action and more at Sports and Social. Enter our $80,000 Dolce & Gabbana giveaway on March 28th. And catch the Baltimore baseball jersey giveaway March 31st. Take your shot at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. At Arundel Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. Learn more at DriveEasyMD.com.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their amazingly scrumptious, fat, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. Every season is crab season at Costas, so make your plans now by calling 410-477-1975 and reserve your taste of heaven. Sit back, crack some crabs, and watch the Ravens chase down another title on Costas' 15 TVs. On Monday nights, Costas offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with 2 sides for under $30, and there are nightly specials Monday through Friday. So head on down to the Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at costasinn.com.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Want to improve your golf game or learn to play for the first time? The Baltimore Golf Academy has fun, instructional programs for the beginner golfer to everyday players. The Baltimore Golf Academy can take your game to the next level. Enroll today at baltimore-golfacademy.com.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
Yeah, you do know who they are. Glenn and Garrett. That's who they are. Glenn Clark Radio. And Tuesday edition of the program. Yesterday was so much fun. It felt like it was a weekend. So I confused myself into thinking that today is Monday. No, today is indeed Tuesday. If you haven't picked up the new print issue of Press Box, go do that right now. On the cover, David Rubenstein, Orioles owner. He sat down for a lengthy Q&A with myself and Stan the Fan Charles. Also, a great profile of Tyler O'Neill. A lot of lacrosse content inside this print issue of Press Box. Go get it for free at your neighborhood Royal Farms, out of the hundreds of locations around town where you find Press Box. You can read it all at PressBoxOnline.com. Only like 12 or so days left for you to go get this print issue of Press Box. Looking forward to this conversation. I say he's one of my favorite players in Maryland basketball history. What I'm saying is he's one of everyone's favorite players in Maryland basketball history. And, he came out and said the other day, hey, I'm available. And we'll welcome him in, and then I'll tell him how I feel about this. He, of course, national champion, Maryland Athletics Hall of Famer, the great Steve Blake, is back with us this morning here on GCR. Steve, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It is always great to chat with you, man. Thank you so much for taking some time for us this morning.
Thank you, Glenn. I appreciate you having me on. Look forward to talking to you.
Steve, I was on the radio when you sent out your tweet the other day, and I had a caller who called in and said, well, maybe Steve's joking. And I said, look, I'm not going to pretend that I'm like very close with Steve. I'm not. But if there's one thing that I know about Steve Blake, he ain't joking about this. He means it. So I guess let's make sure that I'm right about that. Can we confirm that your interest in being Maryland's next basketball coach is very genuine?
It is very genuine. You know, I've loved the Maryland basketball program for so long, and you know, watching it from afar and getting there and seeing games, it's a special place that anyone should want to coach at.
You was this something that you had thought about before everything went down with Kevin Willard? Is getting into coaching and going this route, or was this very unique to, hey, I'm just going to let people know I am interested. I'm available only because of how things have gone these last couple of weeks?
A little bit of both. You know, I've always had conversations with people about coaching after I stopped coaching for the Phoenix Suns. It's always been, coaching is a passion of mine. I'm an assistant coach for my son's high school team. I coached his AAU team for many years, and I just love the game. But the situation with Coach Willard leaving was sudden, you know, for everybody. And, you know, when you see something like that, you know, you just want to be someone that can be there for the program. And so I talked it over with my family real quick and had some discussions with them. And I was like, they were on board, and I was like, why not? You know, let's shoot for this thing and let's go for it. And, you know, that's kind of how it happened pretty quickly because no one really knew he was leaving.
Steve, I remember when we were talking, like when you were with the Suns, and I said, yeah, this makes all the sense in the world to me. Everything about you as a player and your temperament and and being a point guard and a natural point guard, right? Like it screamed to me that you were going to be a coach. Can you walk me through like the couple years that you spent on staffs in the NBA? Why did you step away from that, and why did you choose? Is it just because of your son's age that you wanted to be there at this point? What the last couple of years have been like, instead of continuing to make sure that you were in, you know, high-profile coaching roles?
Yeah, there's a couple factors there. You know, first, my first 2 years coaching with Portland for Terry Stotts was amazing. Got to learn a lot from him and that staff. And then when Monty Williams got the job in Phoenix, he called me and asked me to go with him, and I was thrilled to be mentored by a man like that. And you'll know at the end of towards the end of that year in Phoenix is when COVID kind of hit and kind of shut the NBA down. And I was able to go home for, you know, a month or so and be with my kids and my family, and I have 3 boys. And it made me realize a little bit, you know, what I was missing. And the NBA was going into the bubble for about 3 months, and you weren't going to be able to see your family. And so I said, you know, let me take a step back. Let me go spend time with my kids. They're at an age where I really want to be there for them. They love the game of basketball. I want to coach them and teach them the game. And so we've gotten to a place now where, you know, my son's going to play at the University of Scranton. I have a couple other kids that love the game. They would love to be around the University of Maryland. And the timing just seems right. So I only stepped away because I really wanted to spend time with my family, and kind of COVID kind of shut things down. But I've always watched the game, loved the game, been a part of it in some way, shape, or form. And now it just seems like a good time to get back into it. And
I mean it when I say that every single one of us that ever spent any time around you knew, like, you were meant to be a coach. Like, there was just no question to any of us that was the case. Steve Blake is with us here on GCR. Steve, I have you heard, like, you put this out there. Has anybody reached out? Has anybody said, hey, we'd like to talk to you a little bit more about this right now? Or has it fallen on kind of deaf ears?
Well, when I first put the tweet out, I got a call from obviously tons of people. But as of right now, maybe not the right people.
Okay.
I definitely would love the opportunity to speak to those who are maybe on the search committee or whoever they have in charge of running this thing. You know, I've had some people put some calls in for me, and I would love to hear back, you know, but as of this moment, you know, I'm still waiting.
Steve, what makes you, what would you bring that perhaps another candidate for the job wouldn't be able to bring to the University of Maryland?
Well, what comes to mind for me when you ask that is, makes me think of the situation that just occurred.
Yeah.
Having coaches come in, they're all in. I think whoever they were hired will definitely be all in for Maryland. I believe that. I think they could hire someone great. But you don't know what's going to be next for them. What are they looking forward to? Is it another big payday, or are they not going to be happy with the situation? What you would get from me is someone who only wants to be a coach at Maryland. I don't want to coach anywhere else. I'm not looking for the next school. I'm not looking for the next job. I will fight for whatever Maryland needs, and if I don't get it, I'll keep fighting for them and staying with them. And so that's the main, I think, thing that separates me from maybe a different coach. I think I have the knowledge and understanding of the game. I think I can lead these young men to greatness on and off the court, and I would love to mentor some young men in that fashion.
Steve, I believe that there is, everyone's got warts, right? Every place that you go, even the jobs that everybody says are the best jobs in the country, there's something likely at Duke or at Kansas that an outsider wouldn't know about. You know the warts at Maryland, right? It's an academic first school. You know that there were guys that Gary would have liked to have had at Maryland over the years, and it just wasn't going to happen. Do you feel like that's an additional advantage, that you understand the situation at Maryland perhaps better than a lot of people would, and yet here you are saying, I want the job?
Well, I've been there. I lived it. And not many people who will be going for the job will know that. Obviously, there are probably some other Maryland basketball players or ex-coaches that have been there that understand it. But to truly play there and understand how special it is, that's a quality that I think I understand and can really share with these young men who might want to come there.
Steve, someone would say, look, the college basketball's changed. It's the era of the portal and of NIL, and now we're moving into revenue sharing and flat-out contracts. And my God, we think about how much Steve Blake would have been swimming in money had those been options for you during your playing career. And someone would say, I love Steve, but I just don't think he could be qualified because he doesn't understand those things. What would you say to someone who would say that's why you shouldn't be the basketball coach at the University of Maryland?
Well, I get those things, and I understand people saying that. But as you look at it, I spent 13 years playing in the NBA and a few years coaching in the NBA, and you can see that the college game is basically becoming the pro game. It's guys are playing, they're playing for contracts, and that's something I understand, that mentality. And so I believe I can understand that. And one of the most important things when it comes to being a head coach is surrounding yourself with other great coaches and great people who understand that stuff as well. So I would go out there and I would try and find the best people to be with me, people who understand the NIL, people who understand the game of basketball, and people that players are going to want to play for. And so that's what I would do.
I wonder, I'll put it out there as well. I feel like another pushback somebody would say is, well, other schools have tried this, right? Like Georgetown tried with Patrick Ewing, and Michigan tried with Juwan Howard, and we've just learned this isn't the path. Could you tell us why you believe it would be different for you going this route towards becoming a college coach?
Well, I think every situation is different. And I can't speak to those guys' situations, and I actually know those guys, and they're special men as well. And I can just tell you that I would come in, I would work as hard as I can to do whatever it takes to bring another championship to Maryland. And whatever happens, happens. I can't guarantee the future.
Sure.
I would love to be there for 10, 15, 20 years. The only way I would be leaving is if they fire me. But I would want that opportunity to show people what I could do.
Yeah, Steve Blake's not taking the Kansas job at some point. It's not going that route. You're Steve Blake. You're a Maryland man. Can you speak to that, Steve? Because whether or not it's you, and I've seen, obviously, I'm sure you've been made aware, the support that Gravis threw in your direction immediately, and even guys like Torrey Smith, right, who weren't there at the same time and didn't even play the same sport as you, and yet were very much in your cat. And Len Elmore wrote a whole thought about this yesterday, about why it's so important for it to be a Maryland person and why so many people who care about Maryland want to be stakeholders now moving forward. whether or not it ends up being you, Steve, can you speak to why so many Maryland alums are so passionate in this moment right now about the need for this to be someone who truly, deeply cares about the University of Maryland?
Well, me, like all my Maryland brothers, truly know what it's like to be there and what a special place it is. And unless you've been there, you just don't know that to the extent that we do. So I think those guys, they feel that. They want to have someone there that's had the experience they've had to understand that. And, I truly appreciate the support some of those guys have made for me and just like I would have for them. If another Maryland alum got the job, I would support them 110%. And I'll support any coach they hire 110%. I'll be there for the program if need be. But, it's something I would love to do. I want to be a part of. And those guys, they know what it's about.
Steve, do you still believe that Maryland is a great job? Like we know what you guys did. We're aware. But some people would say, well, it was a special group of players and one of the greatest head coaches of all time. And, it's less about the quality of the job and more about the job that was done by that group of guys. Do you still believe that Maryland is a truly great job and a place where you can win national championships?
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. I mean, as Coach Willard showed, you can take this program to great heights. I mean, reaching the Sweet 16, he was doing an amazing job there, getting players. And the location of the school is perfect. Think about all the talent that is in that area. The D.C., Baltimore, Maryland, Virginia, all the talent that's there that you just got to harness and bring and keep around. Those kids that are in that area are special. And if we can keep those kids at the University of Maryland, I see cutting down the nets is not a problem.
I'd say maybe sometimes you go to South Florida and find some kids. Maybe that might be the route that you take.
South Florida, California, everywhere. I would be everywhere.
Steve, I would need to ask, like, if they chose someone else, but that person said, I'd like to have you be involved, I don't want to, like, already take you out of the running or something like that. I don't want to do that, but is it, hey, head coach or nothing? Would you consider being on someone's staff? And I know there's a lot of talk. One of the things that Kevin Willard brought up was the need for a basketball GM. At the University of Maryland. Is that something that maybe you would consider to be involved with the Maryland program moving forward if it didn't work out as head coach?
Well, with anyone that knows me, I'm going to be solely focused on one thing first.
Yeah.
This is something I want. I want to be the head coach at Maryland. If it doesn't take place, then we'll broach that subject when it happens. But I'm solely focused on one thing and one thing only, and that's taking Maryland back to its greatness.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And selfishly, I'd like for Steve Blake to be involved with Maryland basketball no matter what the category is, but I understand exactly what you're saying and that you want to be a candidate for the head coaching job, and I speak to that. Steve, I think one of the things that's most appealing about you is the idea of continuing the legacy of Gary Williams. You played for a lot of great coaches starting right with Frank Martin in high school. You played for a lot of great coaches. What's the thing about you that you recognize, I know I've carried this with me for my entire life, and as you got into coaching, that you got from Gary, that like, I do this because I spent 4 years around that maniac, and I know I picked it up for him.
Well, we all know Coach Williams was amazing coach, his whole career, no matter where he was. But one of the things that I took from him was being prepared. He was prepared and ready to go from the second you get on the court. I think he would just tell us, like, don't come out to the court with your shoes untied. They need to be tied and ready to go from the second you walk on that court. And, his energy and intensity was something that got us to play better and harder than anyone else. And I've took that with me. And I've taken things from every coach along the way. Like you said, I played for Frank Martin, who's the coach at UMass, played for Steve Smith at Oak Hill, who's a legendary Hall of Fame high school coach, from playing for Phil Jackson and Mike D'Antoni and George Karl and you name it, many others who I haven't mentioned. But you take bits and pieces of those coaches, but you still have your own style. And I could tell you, Maryland basketball is going to be exciting. Our guys would play defense like no other. We would play an up-tempo, fast game, and people would be excited to come to the Xfinity Center every single night.
The other thing that I feel like would resonate with young people is we know, I think everybody in the basketball world knows the reverence that Kobe had for you and your relationship with him. And I think that that's something that not a lot of people have and could speak to young people. Can you tell me what, from that relationship, like what's something that you've taken from him that has stayed with you moving forward as a basketball player, as a coach, as a man in your life, in that incredibly close relationship that you guys had?
Yeah, he was a special human being. When I signed with the Lakers, the very first phone call I got was from Kobe, and he said, "Welcome to the family." And when someone of that caliber takes the time, and I'm not a superstar, he didn't have to call me, but you knew that he lived it. He lived the game. Everything he did about his life was family and basketball. And the way he took care of his body, to how he prepared mentally, to how he was on the court working on his craft, to see that firsthand and then become friends and brothers with him, was a special moment in time for me. And so I would love to share that with others.
I feel like that would be something that would absolutely resonate with young people, hearing those stories and again, knowing the way that we knew the reverence that you're speaking for Kobe. We all know the reverence that Kobe had for you and how powerful that was, and I think that would go a long way. Steve, I guess, all of this being said, have you thought about like what it would mean? Like, have you allowed yourself any of those moments? Like, what the emotions would be like? What do you let yourself go there at all, or are you too guarded to give yourself that feeling whatsoever?
I stay guarded because I'm a realist. I understand the situation. But at the same time, you have to let yourself dream. And I think about the moment that if I had the job, how excited I would be. I'd probably yell as loud as possible in happiness. So like I said, I'm a realist, but I would definitely be extremely happy, and I've let myself think about it a little bit for sure.
How intense would a Steve Blake practice be as head coach? Because we know exactly how intense they were with Steve Blake, the player.
They would be intense. I think the players would understand their expectations, and that would be solidified from the very beginning. And they would work hard. I would be intense, but I'm not going to say I'm as intense as Coach Williams. I don't know many that could.
It's very difficult. Very difficult to match that.
Yeah, I prefer to be more of a silent assassin and just be ready to go and prepared and do my job and make sure everyone's on the same page and ready to go.
And I know it's unrelated to this has come up because we've seen the intensity that like Danny Hurley has brought to Connecticut, right? And I sometimes I chuckle and I'm like, look, I don't think Gary was quite that, because I think some of that is performative and theatric and nonsense, but the intensity itself, I'm like, we know that with some guys that's just what works, right? Like, can you speak to that at all? Of like why it worked, that like that intensity, that stuff that people would hear and be like, oh, I don't like that. I don't think that's how a coach should talk. Why was it something that resonated so much with your group and so many Maryland players over the years?
Well, I think there's no one perfect way to coach.
Yeah.
There's been success from many types of characters. I mean, and I'm not going to be a screamer. You're not going to see me on the sideline screaming and yelling and going crazy. That wouldn't be my style. But it does work for certain teams and certain coaches who know how to do it that way. And, coaches that do, those players, they understand they better play or they're going to get, some words coming their way. And, there's that intensity that, those programs work for them. So, I would have my own style, but those coaches it works that way. It works for coaches who are calm and relaxed. And, but you got to know, you got to know the game. You got to know your players. You got to know the moments, time, score, situations. And then you adjust based on those things.
I appreciate everything about that. And some guys it works. Some guys you gotta go a different route, right? Like you gotta go
right.
and do that. Steve, I genuinely have to ask this question because I don't know. Is your father still with us?
He is. Yes, absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
we have to ask the obvious question: would he still drive to every game if you become the head coach at Maryland?
There's no doubt my dad will be driving to the game. I don't think he would go back and forth anymore. I think I'd have to get him an apartment, and he would probably just stay there and watch.
I think that's I don't know, in the Big Ten now, like that's a trip to the Pacific Northwest. That's a hell of a haul.
He might have to bite the bullet and get on a plane.
Oh man, is he? Can we confirm? Has he still stayed off of planes to this point in his life?
To this day, he has not been on a plane, and totally understandable.
For those
he sticks to his guns.
For those that don't know the story, Steve's dad had a dangerous experience on a plane once, like a very close call that led to him not flying anymore. Steve, look, man, it's so funny because when all this came up, I was just like, yep, Steve Blake. Yeah, as I said before, if anyone has the temperament to do this, and it was meant to be a head coach, it's you. And I think everybody in the Maryland fan base would say, sign me up for Steve Blake. Like, I will put my trust in that dude in a heartbeat. And so I hope that the next phone call you get isn't from a dope like me, but instead is from somebody much more important and much more involved in this process to give you that opportunity to go through it. Steve, you know how beloved you are by this fan base and in this community. And I'm wishing you nothing but the best in this, and really appreciate you spending the time with us this morning to talk about it, man.
Well, Glenn, I thank you for those kind words, and I like to say to every Maryland fan out there, I'm a diehard Terp, whether this goes through or not, and I'll always be there to support the program.
I love that, man. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate you, dude.
Thank you, Glenn.
Steve Blake, there's his pitch. Look, you guys know the affinity that I have for Steve Blake, and it's not unique. Like, everyone that cares about Maryland basketball, that watch Maryland basketball, thinks about, the shot against UConn. But so much more. 4-year starter. Started at point guard as a freshman. Gary Williams had never done that. Steve Blake is one of the greatest players in Maryland basketball history, and to the point, someone who has great passion for Maryland basketball, and someone who checks the box of, yeah, that dude was meant to be a coach. As I said before, I think it's an uphill battle because, as I pointed out, the two things that I think are that will be easiest to point out are the lack of experience with the way that the portal and NIL, I guess nobody really has any revenue sharing experience because nobody's done it yet, but the new era of college basketball and the fact that other schools have attempted something similar to this, right? Like Patrick Ewing had actually been a longer tenured NBA assistant when he got the Georgetown job. Juwan Howard, Chris Mullen, guys like that, I think that's going to work against that. Even if the search committee or the people involved at the University of Maryland are inclined to say it, I think somebody's going to push back and say, other people have tried that, it didn't work out. Now, that's unfair to Steve, to be fair, right? Like, that is absolutely unfair to say if it didn't work here at these places, then it can't work here. Completely unfair. But I do think it's something that he's up against. To the point, there is no doubt, I can't tell you who should be the next Maryland basketball coach, but Steve Blake should get a phone call. That, they don't even bother. That would infuriate me. Hire the right guy. Not just the guy that's most popular, most beloved. But Steve Blake should get a phone call. I want to make that abundantly clear. He should be part of the process. Talk to him. Let him lay out his vision, the staff that he would like to put together, how he's going to handle these things with NIL and the portal and the things that he's never done before. 1,000% Steve Blake should be involved in the process. Do I think he's going to get the job? Admittedly, I don't, because I just don't think that's the path that it's going to go. And I'm not saying that because Steve Blake should be getting a phone call from the University of Maryland today. Should have gotten it on Sunday. So I appreciate him putting himself out there. I think it speaks to how real this is that he wants the job. He wouldn't even engage in the conversation with me about being a GM or being an assistant coach or something like that. Like, this is not a bit for him. He wants to be the head coach of the University of Maryland. Appreciate him taking the time for us this morning. Let's talk obviously more about Maryland's search for a new basketball coach. Joining us as he does every Tuesday here on GCR, he is of course our friend from the Washington Post, Blue Ribbon, also USA Lacrosse Magazine, at Discourse D1S Course. He is Mr. Patrick Stevens, and he is back with us here on the program. Patrick, good morning, my friend. How are you?
I am well, and you?
I'm all right. Look, Patrick, as you probably are aware, we just were chatting with Steve Blake a couple minutes ago. I understand that it's very unlikely that Steve Blake is going to be the next basketball coach at the University of Maryland. That said, I do think that Steve Blake should get a phone call because I don't know how Maryland is in position to just say, search firm, be damned. I just feel like that talk to the guy. Just have a conversation with him, see what he would. This is Steve Blake that we're talking about. I think he's earned at least getting a phone call.
Well, who's the one making the call in the first?
And that's part of the problem, no doubt.
Let's just start there. Who's actually running the thing? So, I mean, look, it's funny.
Apologies, we just lost Patrick. Of course, that would be the case. Of course, that would be the case. Patrick joins us every Tuesday here on GCR, and we'll discuss some other things related to local sports, but we'll try to grab Patrick back here. Sorry, Patrick, I don't know what happened. Technology is what it is sometimes, but let's go ahead and grab him right back. Patrick, go ahead.
So, I was just going to say, beyond the fact that we don't know who's actually running the thing, and I would assume at this point it is coming out of the president's office because it pretty much has to at this stage. Because the president's actually going to theoretically be there, and who knows who in the athletic department is actually still going to be around a year or 2 years from now. But to tie in the Blake stuff with the Len Elmore letter, which I'm sure you've talked about over the last couple of days. I went through and did a quick search on my digital version of Blue Ribbon for the year, and we list in Blue Ribbon the head coach and 3 assistants for every Division I team and their alma maters. And there were 5 guys total in all of Division I that graduated from Maryland. So, the idea of keeping this kind of close to the vest and all that stuff, I don't know if that's realistic to narrow your pool down that much. But I do think there is something to be said for finding somebody that, if they're not necessarily invested now, at least you could envision being there a decade from now. In the right situation. And, when you think about the job itself, and I've had a lot of things on my mind here on this in the last week or so. Mm-hmm. In the last 70 years, there's been 7 coaches, and 4 of them have been there for at least a decade. In Bud Milliken, Lefty Drizel, Gary Williams, Mark Turgeon. You've had 2 in Frank Fellows and Bob Wade, who had ties to the area prior to getting the job and just, only lasted a few seasons. And then you had Kevin Willard. So, when you look at the athletic department at Maryland, which has not given people a whole lot to celebrate high end over the last 20 years, no football league title games since they could have possibly been in one since 05, no 10-win football season since 03, 2 Sweet 16s in the last 20 years, no conference tournament titles in men's basketball, 2 shared regular season titles in men's basketball. And I think what the last week illustrates is that people want to feel like their program is special in some way, right? Mm-hmm. And I think most Maryland fans are realistic enough to acknowledge that football probably isn't going to give them that feeling. So by default, it has to be basketball, which is why I can understand why there's this push on a number of fronts to talk about, get an alum in or this, that, or the other. But I do think you need to find somebody that actually you can kind of convince yourself would be invested and would not be necessarily just an obvious mercenary.
And I guess the question becomes, right, I can't believe I'm going to say this. But we didn't think that's what Kevin Willard was, right? Like, how do you know that's the? I think part of the passion here too is that, like, as I said to you before, I'm not sure how good the Maryland job is, and as much as everybody, yeah, go ahead. Did we lose him again?
Stability in both places, in both Villanova and Maryland.
Yep.
For the next 3 years, I'd rather be at Villanova.
Yeah.
I don't know much beyond that. I wouldn't dare try to look beyond the horizon with the way things are at the moment. But, the amazing thing about the last couple weeks is that, yes, Kevin Willard behaved like a brat in his final 2 weeks at Maryland. But his larger point was not incorrect, and we've talked about this the last couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Maryland really ought to invest more in basketball. There's the return on investment is going to be better if you put more money into basketball than if you do into football. It just is. It just is. And I thought John Talty's CBS Sports story was really good.
Mm-hmm.
And going into the argument of, well, you're going to get left behind, and this is one of the big problems with the decision makers in college sports. You heard Dan Bonner on your show yesterday talking about how one of the driving forces in college athletics for the last 50 years has been presidents trying to squeeze every last cent out of it. I would argue that for the last 25 years, the other driving force is this fear of what happens if we don't do this? What happens? And I know I've told you this before off air. I don't know if we've talked about it on air, but making decisions out of fear is a great short-term strategy and a terrible long-term strategy. It just is. And when you look and see that in raw attendance numbers for the year, for the entire season, Maryland, Duke, Kansas, Syracuse are the only power conference schools that drew better for basketball than football, men's basketball than football. And it wasn't by much for Maryland. It was like 1,700 people total. More for the entire men's basketball season compared to the entire football season. Like, your fans are basically telling you, like, this is more important, right?
I guess the question, Patrick, I don't know if I've asked you this as directly about it. If let's just play into the fear, right? If this led to the Big Ten saying, yeah, we're not interested, or whatever the super conference is, and Maryland was then left to be in the, let's just say, the American conference. I don't even know if these conferences are going to exist, but just, walk with me for the sake of walking with me, to play football, and because they chose to emphasize basketball, the outside is, well, that's going to hurt your department. Your department's going to lose money in that scenario because you're not going to get the TV deals for the Big Ten. But, like, there are places where, like, this does work some places. Like, is it the end of the world if the fears are founded? And that's the way that this goes.
Well, how in the world did Connecticut just win back-to-back national titles if they didn't have power conference football money? How did that happen? Well, because there's other stuff going on there. Because you have more people, you have enough people that legitimately care about it. And this does tie into the real fundamental weakness in Maryland, right? Is that there just aren't enough people that care.
Passionately,
right?
Right. Yep.
Right? It just is. You can tell it based on the size of the stadium in football and how much it's filled. That's just the reality of it. And, we could be here for 5 hours talking about the reasons why. I want to emphasize, because I know I've said this before too, it is not a Mike Loxley problem or a DJ Durkin problem or a Randy Edsall problem or a Ralph Friedgen problem. It is not a Damon Evans problem or a Kevin Anderson problem or a Debbie Yao problem. That fundamental issue is independent of all of those people. It is not the fault of the 20, 25,000 people who legitimately do care about Maryland football on a week in, week out basis. It is the fact that there just aren't that many people that are super invested in it. And I don't see how you solve that without getting really good. And I don't see how you get really good unless you have a whole lot of people that get super invested in it. It's a chicken and the egg.
It's very much a chicken and the egg. These are all big picture things that can't be dealt with in the moment. What does your gut tell you about what the next Maryland basketball coach looks like? Even if it's not like who's practical to you, who isn't practical to you? Walk me through what you think this ends up being.
Again, I think you want to find somebody that you can grow with, right? somebody that you can envision is going to be there 7 years
Is
from
that
now,
Tony
10
Skinn?
years from now. It could be Tony Skinn. I will tell you, having watched a lot of George Mason over the last 2 years, that Tony's really impressive. Tony's sharp. Tony's candid. He doesn't make the same mistakes again. He selected a really good staff. Candidly, I'm not sure I figured he was ready to be an A-10 level coach when he got there. And the truth is that, they were kind of in a similar spot to where Maryland is right now, right? Like they'd gone through Paul Hewitt, who didn't work out for them, and then Dave Paulson, the guy who's a really good coach, who left them in a better spot than he found it, but didn't give them the level of success that they wanted. And so they brought in a guy that was tied to the school and was invested in all that stuff. And, it's worked out. And by the way, it should be noted, Tony Skinn took that job when there was not an athletic director in place.
How about that? That's interesting.
I just want to point that out because Brad Edwards had left for a job with the NFL Players, not the Players Association, but like the Alumni Association.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And so they'd had an interim AD for like 4 months or something like that. And then they hired Marvin Lewis, the former Georgia Tech point guard, as their AD like about a month or so later. So, it can be done. I think a little bit of the whole you don't know who your boss is going to be thing is a little overwrought because at a place like Maryland, you know what? Like a successful men's basketball coach is a power center unto themselves.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
So, I think that there's a little bit of, going back to the argument on Kevin Willard, like talking about wanting to have things in his contract. Well, that's another thing that's pretty sharp. I will say that I think going the same route of going and poaching another power conference coach that, is only going to be there 5 or 6 years. I think we know who we're talking about here. Not a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the thing you need to do is, it's easy to say, go hire a good coach, right? Go hire a coach that you think is on the rise and that might be there for a while and that can get get people behind him. And, in the case of Tony Skinn, he does still check a lot of boxes. He's worked there, even if it was only for a year.
Yep.
He spent a lot of his childhood growing up in the area. I think he did really, really good work the last 2 years. Did excellent work in the portal last season. I will also say that his first 2 teams at George Mason, it's hard to kind of try to figure out exactly what a coaching philosophy is when, guys are going in and out. He got a relatively late start over there when he got hired and all that. But they've been defense first. That's kind of been their thing. They were a really good defensive team this season. And offensively, it was a little dicey. They basically thought they had a couple options at point guard that didn't work the way they wanted, and they wound up using a guy that hadn't been a point guard earlier in his college career at UMass Lowell, a kid named Braden O'Connor, who ultimately kind of grew into the role about as well as you could have hoped, but was not a true point guard, and they had some turnover issues, particularly early in the season. So I think there's a lot to like about him, but I will say one other thing on this. This isn't a race as much as people want to assume that it is. If you think this is something that's going to be 7 years, 8 years, honestly, yes, the portal's open. Yes, you're probably not going to get the pick of the litter in terms of building out your roster. Truthfully, given how late this came, I think you realistically have to assess next season as not entirely a lost cause, but if they make the NCAA tournament next year, that's not a good season. That's a great season.
Right.
I mean, save the audio here, okay? Yeah. If they make the tournament next year, that's not a good season. It's a great season. Realistically, next year is probably not going to be all that great. So sitting here and trying to rush and fill a job just so, oh my gosh, we got to fill out a roster. Well, there's going to be a couple thousand guys on the portal, so you're going to have some choices on that front. But also, this is about being better in year 2, year 3, and year 4. And I think you just kind of have to accept the likelihood that next year isn't going to be all that great.
Is there any thought at all, and I brought it up a couple times, that the next era of college basketball hires is just who's the guy that's got 3 underclassmen he can bring with them, and we don't think about 10 years from now. Like, this is college basketball is a year-by-year thing. We just try to find the guy that can make us good next year.
Yeah, I think that's one of it. I think there's a little bit of a NASCAR element to this too. You know, you look at NASCAR, and there's guys that have rides because they could bring sponsorship.
Yep.
You know, like if there's somebody that has somebody that they know either inside their family or outside their family, you know, that is willing to pump some NIL money in, you can affect, you know, in NASCAR it's called buying a ride.
Yep.
You know, here it's buying a head coaching job. I think that those are things that are very much in play until and unless, because God knows it's certainly possible that the NCAA doesn't figure out a way to solve this among many other things.
No.
But until or unless you establish some measure of stability, then it is going to be wacky like that, and it is going to be something that you just kind of have to accept. This is different. Now, you know what I was just saying a moment ago. Like the downside is that you might be bad next year, right? But the good thing is that isn't going to stop you from being really good the next year, especially if you have a little bit of runway to work with, especially if you happen to be able to uncover 2 or 3 guys that become sort of your baseline. But in terms of whoever the next coach is at Maryland, you know, how many guys is he going to have back from this past season, other than maybe a walk-on?
Yeah, 0.
I mean, I don't think it's likely to be very high.
Yeah. Yeah, unless somehow it's David Cox, and maybe, I don't know, you know what I mean, like maybe, but yes, 0 is the most likely number. Patrick, just a couple of other thoughts real quick. One, obviously there is going to be a Final Four played this weekend. Is Duke the team to beat going into the weekend?
Duke's playing really well. What Duke did to Alabama, where they kind of created some separation early, kept it there, and then just sort of hit the gas there in the middle of the second half or so was pretty impressive. But I think all of those teams, you know, they were number 1 seeds for a reason, right? Like you can imagine a path for each of them. You know, Houston, you know, does Houston have another 1 or 2 of those? Well, yeah, we're just not going to let you score here for 15 minutes stretches in them. I don't know if they have that against Duke or Florida or Auburn, but they're tough as nails. Auburn's been the best team all season. Florida has played really well, and I think you kind of got a good sense in the last 3 minutes of that regional final against Texas Tech of the dangers of counting them out. So, you know, this has not been the most riveting Final Four or tournament by any stretch, but if you've got the 4 best teams, you at least have the chance to have a pretty good weekend in San Antonio to finish it out. And in some ways, it's a little bit like the other time the 4 number 1 seeds all made it.
Yeah.
You know, that was a tournament that was decided by Mario Chalmers, right? The Kansas-Memphis game in the title game back in 2008 in San Antonio.
Forcing overtime, no doubt about it. And then I'd be remiss if we didn't bring up the retirement of Chet Gladchuk at the Naval Academy and just some thoughts on the job that he's done over the years there.
Well, it's you know, the amazing thing is, you remember that was not necessarily a civilian job for a long time, and you know, to be there for essentially a quarter of a century, to have flipped football, which, you know, when you take out the couple Chris McCoy years, the 1990s and early 2000s were really, really bleak. And you kind of sat there wondering, like, what's the future for Navy football at that stage? And the fact that he was able to build that thing back first with Paul Johnson and then built on it with Ken Niumatalolo. Just impressive work. He's obviously had a huge hand in, you know, expanding the department, for hiring a lot of good coaches. A lot of interesting things have happened there. I know his tenure is not without its controversies, but to be able to be there for 25 years basically is impressive work in this day and age. And there's certainly a lasting legacy there. I mean, just with the stadium project itself and with football being revitalized, I think those are clearly, you know, some of the big positives that you look back on from the Chet Gladchuk era.
I'll tell you, one of the things that was that floored me is you know how close I am with Kenny Amadololo, and Ken telling me a couple months ago, he's like, I'm still in touch with Chet to this day. Like, we're still friends. And I just said, how could that possibly be the case? Like, and it speaks obviously the type of human being that Ken is on top of that. But like, my God, man, like it does to me have to say something about Chet Gladchuk that. Despite the fact that you just fired me, I'm still going to stay in touch with you and reach out to you. And I know that's unique because Ken's son is still at the academy. But, like, it blew me away when he told me that. So I thought that was a statement. You want to just do one this week? Well, we'll do one just to have some fun. I'll take the first name on my list, and we'll keep with the theme. This man, of course, a World Series champion in 1983. 5 teams for Storm Davis.
Storm Davis with the Orioles for sure, with Oakland.
Yep.
Was he in San Diego?
Yes, that was one I did not get. That was where he went after Baltimore. I had no recollection of it. He made 10 starts with the Padres in '87.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm missing 2 teams.
And both are multi-year stops. Remember, he had the return to Baltimore in '92, so it's 2 years before that, and then 2 years at the end.
So we're talking about 90 and 91.
Yep,
for one of the stops.
And 93 and 94.
And then 93 and 94. Was he? Let's throw Kansas City.
I
out.
absolutely remembered him very well as a Royal. Correct. That is 90 and 91. Okay. So at the end, 93 and 90.
93 and 94. I don't know if I'm going to get this one because that's I'm really not picturing him anywhere else. How about we go with Texas?
Detroit was the answer for
Detroit?
Storm Davis.
Okay.
Yeah. Lacrosse on the docket this week?
Yeah, Navy Lafayette on Friday night and Hopkins, Ohio State on Saturday.
Very good. At Discourse, D1S Course on Twitter, and more importantly, Blue Sky is where you follow him. Patrick Stevens, always appreciate you, my friend. Let's talk again next Tuesday, all right?
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Thanks, buddy. Patrick Stevens with us as he is every Tuesday here on GCR. All right, when we come back in, Katie Pumphrey, talk about favorites. One of the most inspiring people I know. Katie Pumphrey is doing it again. She's swimming 24 miles from the Chesapeake Bay to the Inner Harbor, and she joins us next on GCR.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their amazingly scrumptious, fat, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. Every season is crab season at Costas, so make your plans now by calling 410-477-1975 and reserve your taste of heaven. Sit back, crack some crabs, and watch the Ravens chase down another title on Costas' 15 TVs. On Monday nights, Costas offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with 2 sides for under $30, and there are nightly specials Monday through Friday. So head on down to the Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at CostasInn.com.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Glenn Clark and I sit down for a Q&A with Orioles owner David Rubenstein, discussing what he learned from his first year as owner, his goals both on and off the field, and his involvement in baseball decisions. Also inside, Brooks DeBose profiles new Oriole Tyler O'Neill, and we meet college lacrosse players from around the state. Press Box is available for free at over 500 locations throughout the region, including 60 Royal Farms stores. Or you can read the entire issue online at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the O's, Ravens, and Terps.
Need a trophy or award that's as unique as the achievement? Look no further than Crown Trophy. With locations in Owings Mills and Gaithersburg, they specialize in custom trophies, plaques, and medals for any occasion. From sports and academic awards to employee recognition and corporate gifts, visit crowntrophy.com today and let them help you create a lasting memory for your school, team, or business. Crown Trophy is a proud supporter of the Maryland Public Secondary Schools Athletic Association. crowntrophy.com.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
A lot of feedback about our conversation with Steve Blake. I'm not telling you that Steve Blake is going to be the next basketball coach at Maryland. I'm not telling you that he even should be, but I do stand by that he should be a part of the process. He should be getting the opportunity. He should be getting a phone call and be treated as a legitimate candidate. Patrick's point, who's the one making the phone call? It's very fair. I would say Daryl Pines should be the one making the phone call and saying, I'm the president of the University of Maryland, and I'm going to recognize who you are and your involvement and all of those things. I think that's important. So appreciate him taking the time. And, yes, if you missed any of it, we will get it up as quickly as we possibly can. All right. I would like to hope that you know from last year not only what our next guest did, but why it moved me as much as it did. And I wrote about it. It was my favorite moment of 2024. It was just inspiring to me. And so when I say, like, I think it's crazy that she's doing it again, truth be told, I maybe I don't think it's crazy because she's so casual about it that it's not crazy at all. But she's doing it again. She's getting back in and swimming 24 miles from the Chesapeake Bay to the Inner Harbor. She's going to tell us all about it. Joining us now, she is marathon swimmer Katie Pumphrey. She's back with us here on GCR. Katie, it's Glenn. It's so good to catch up with you. Thank you for taking the time for us this morning.
Hey there. Yeah, it's great to talk to you again. I've really enjoyed our conversation. Looking forward to it.
You made me emotional last time around, so I'm not sure that I really want to do this again. Katie.
No, that's good. That's good. Sports have the power to move it, right?
And by the way, I mean that, and I'm a dad now, so I'm much more comfortable letting that be known that I'm a complete softie, like everything. Doing this again, right? I remember talking to you about how important it was for you, not just doing it, but believing in science and believing that the harbor is swimmable and wanting to support these things. Why? Like, you've already accomplished this challenge. You've done it. You could check it off your box. Why is it so important for you to get back in the water and try to draw attention to these things?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I was definitely unprepared for the why, right? Explaining my sport is always fun, I think, because it's different and unusual for some people to think about that many miles and hours in the water. I mean, there's a bunch of reasons why. A big one for me is this is my sport and this is what I do.
Right.
And this is now my home swim. And, I definitely hope to do the Bay to Baltimore swim many times in my lifetime. And right now, and another big why is I want to keep this momentum going, right? The conversation around a healthier harbor and the support needed to continue that progress is big. And while last year, 2024, was a big year for swimming in the harbor, not only my swim, but waterfront partnerships, Harbor Splash, where 150 people jumped in the water.
Yep.
That was big. But it wasn't a finish line. There's more progress to be made. And hopefully that comes with people being open to that progress, right? And believing that our harbor can be healthier and a more, enjoyable resource for everybody.
Can I walk between those two separate things? The first thought about this is your sport, right? Because I feel that's the side of it that I didn't spend enough time with last year. Is this a track that you want to see other swimmers take on? Is that part of this that you want this track to become part of marathon swimming, the way that you have swam, the channel and things like that, that you want other swimmers around the world to make Baltimore a destination to do this as well?
Yes, that's a big goal of mine. And that's part of why I'm in the process of creating a nonprofit called
Okay.
Baltimore Open Water Swimmers, BOWS for short. So BOWS will become the governing body of the swim and host, hopefully, this swim year after year. So to do it again, to make that swim safe and successful for many different swimmers of many different speeds, we need a little more data. And so doing it again, knowing what we know, at a time that will be more favorable, is going to be really helpful. So last year, my 2024 swim was originally planned for May, and because of the Key Bridge, we pushed it back. And really, I could not have safely done that swim a couple days later because the water was so hot.
Wow.
So doing the swim this year, kind of in that more favorable water temperature range, and on a more favorable tide, because I kind of had the opposite tide that you would want, will give us a lot more information. Now, you never know what day you're going to get.
By the way, that's a really low-key way of saying, like, I'm so incredible that I was able to do that in the wrong tide. I just want to be like, there's a little bit of a humble brag in the statement that you just made. I know that's not what your intention was, but I caught it. I just want you to know that I caught it.
Well, I think I knew it was going to be tougher because of that, right? I also trained for cold water. The English Channel is in the low 60s.
Oh.
The water temperature for my swim last year in Baltimore was 82.
Damn.
That is with air temperature in the 90s, and that's very high for open water. And that's very normal for our Patapsco River and Chesapeake Bay because it's so shallow. And one of the cool things about how those bodies of water change with our changing weather. It's just wild to see how that's impacted. But yeah, my hope is that this is a swim that people will come from other cities and other countries, and this will continue to put Baltimore on the map. This is a city that people should visit and enjoy and see how much we all love it. And hopefully that love continues to grow at the same time. And if I can do that through my sport,
yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, I can. Swimkatie.com is the website, and I want you to go check it out right now. Katie Pumphrey is with us here on GCR. And Katie, I saw that to say, to me, this adds another entire element to it, which is I will acknowledge that I'm not like a dressage person. Like horse jumping is not my thing, but I happen to know that the Maryland 5-Star brings a lot of people in, and they spend a lot of money in our state, and that's a win for us. And so now the way that I'm thinking about it, like what this could be for our region and the people that it could bring in, it's opened my eyes to an entirely different value of what it is that you're doing. The other part of it, the emotional part of, I care about this place, I care about the harbor, I want us to get in. Did you feel that after the swim? Did you feel there were more people that were willing? Because we all had the same reaction, admittedly. Every one of us that's from here, when we heard, yeah, it's safe to swim in the harbor again, our guttural reaction was, yeah, no, thank you. We're not going to be the ones doing it. After your swim last year, did you feel some of that changing in conversations? Did you notice more people and I told you that I would, and I stand by that. I don't like the thought, but I would do it. Did you feel more people that would be willing to say, okay, yeah, I'll try it because of what you did?
Yes, and I've heard from them, and I understand that reaction, right? I absolutely get it, and I think it's interesting that our Patapsco River, our harbor, kind of is that perfect reminder of, hey, science, right? We believe in data and we should trust science, right? But it makes sense that you kind of need that little reminder of like, oh, right, this is also science. This is the same. And I mean, that's why I think, I don't need to be an expert in water quality. I trust those that are.
Mm-hmm.
But it's common in my sport to talk about those, that testing and to hear, that swims are impacted by that, right? I've done swims in different cities or different, beaches, and they've been canceled because of weather or rain or, how that impacts the health of the water. And that's just a part of my sport. So it'll take some time for people to understand and feel comfortable with that, that changing, especially after a heavy rain. We don't want to get in the water, right? That if there's runoff, there's all sorts of issues that kind of come from that. But that goes for any swimmable area, right? That goes for Ocean City. It's impacted by runoff. So, and not just runoff from cities, it's runoff from farms and runoff from all sorts of things. So kind of following that 48-hour rule, those swimmable days, right, on dry days, I think it'll take some time for people to get comfortable with it.
To the point, the same people that are saying that they won't get in the harbor, we've all gotten in the water at Secrets in Ocean City, right? Like, come on. Like, who are we kidding?
Yeah.
Who are we kidding? We know it's in that water. We're quite aware. We're just saying things for the sake of saying it. Katie, how different is it? Like, there'll be a part of me, I'm very much the type that, like, once I've done something, I'm like, oh, that's easy. Like, I jumped out of a plane a little while ago. I'm like, now I could do it again. Like, I did it. Is it now, like, this is easy for you? Do you train in any amount of a different way? Like, what is it the second time around, knowing I've done this, I've experienced all of these emotions the first time? How different is it this time around? Do you maybe just need to? I don't even need to bother to train. I can just go out there and swim. I'm good. I can just do this.
No, I'm definitely working hard in training. And this is the first swim of my season. In July, I'm headed to England for my third English Channel swim. So I'm definitely doing the work to be prepared. But this is my 10th, 11th year in this kind of distance. So I definitely know it worked for me in that. But there are some, like, I feel more relaxed, right, about my worries when it comes to the swim. But I think that also comes with the nature of my sport, is that anything can happen. So there's only so much you can control. And, if a storm pops up and prevents us from finishing, that's kind of just the way it goes. So you never know in open water. And you have to kind of be willing to roll with it. But this time around, I mean, the first time I think I was especially nervous to, I wanted people to come out and support, and then they just, blew me away with how much people showed up. And I'm really hoping, that we continue to do that and come join at the finish, not only to just celebrate a sporting endeavor, but really just to celebrate Baltimore. I mean, I think this is the beginning of this sport and more swimming and recreation in the harbor. So I think that's worth celebrating many, many times over.
I saw there's a window for the swim, and I'm assuming that's because of exactly, like, unlike other events where we can nail down this is exactly when you're doing it, there are some other factors at play. Can you walk us through, like, what this looks like and as far as what day the swim might be?
Yeah, so the swim window is May 18th to the 23rd. That window is basically chosen based on the moon and our tides. So that's kind of when the tides are the littlest, like the least drastic change, right, between high and low tide. So 18th to the 23rd, then we'll narrow it down from there based on weather, right? So staying outside of heavy rain. And the last thing to kind of, okay, say all those days are looking dry, the lead up is no big rain. Then we look at wind. Wind is a big one. So no matter how much the tide or things are in your favor, wind is definitely a big factor and can make it a lot more challenging. But that being said, if it's, I'm going to take a tough day if that's what's handed to me.
I understand exactly how that works. Well, I don't, not exactly, but I get the concept. I'm not going to pretend that I understand exactly. Katie, and then I think the other thing that I want to know, like, I remember particularly, you talked last year about your emotions when you were underneath the bridge. Is there anything else about the swim that, like, this time around you want to take a second to breathe in a little bit more? Like, as you do it again, is there anything that you find yourself saying, hey, this part of the swim, I want to give myself more of a moment to take it in or to look around or anything along those lines?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely took a lot of time last year. And this swim, I'm actually going to be starting earlier, trying to get the best tidal push. Basically, the tide will be going out when I start.
Okay.
Then I have a little bit of slack tide, and then hoping to get the push into high tide, push into the finish. So to hit that, we're likely starting at midnight, and that could change again. You never know what the weather's going to do. But that will mean swimming pretty much the whole stretch through the bay, which is about 10 miles at night. So the first several hours versus just a couple hours last year will be in darkness, which I think will make sunrise, and hopefully it's a last year was just like the most beautiful sunrise I'd ever seen, and we were out by the First lighthouse out there at Baltimore Light, and this year, if all goes well, I'll be kind of making the turn into the Terps River already. So I think at sunrise, I'll be able to see out into the bay, and I'll be able to see Baltimore.
Wow.
And I'm really looking forward to that moment. And then, I want to take it all in again. I mean, I think it is one of the coolest ways to see our city come into view, and I'm just really looking forward to it. But at the same time, there's, the second time around, I'm going to be a little more business about it and hopefully swim a little faster, but you never know.
And then the nice part about this time around is there'll be less idiots like me that want to ask you questions about peeing. Like, there'll be a little bit less of that because we were able to get through all.
I'm always down to ask. Yeah, no, I think that's one of the biggest questions I get.
Oh, right? I know.
And, in open water, peeing is a good sign, so it's always good.
Katie, I meant swimkatie.com. Tell me more, because I know that you're asking for donations. Can you tell people about what it is that they're donating to when they visit swimkatie.com?
Yeah, so swimkatie.com will kind of lay out the details of the swim, as well as a lot of my partners, right? So I'm happy to work with Waterfront Partnership again, and Mr. Trash Wheel will be joining me into the finish again. Freedom Boat Club is providing the boats, which is really big. Basically, donations are helping support me as an athlete to make this swim happen. There's a lot of moving parts in my sport, and it really requires a team. I'll have about 10 to 12 people out there with me. It's a lot of resources to make it all work. And then that also supports the rest of my season as I head to England and represent Baltimore in my third English Channel swim. And a portion of all of those donations, and I am also seeking sponsorship, if any businesses or corporations want to join me in the effort, a portion of donations will go to creating the nonprofit Baltimore Open Water Swimmers, BOWS, which will become the governing body of the Beta Baltimore Swim. And my hope is that BOWS, as a nonprofit, can really foster community around this sport and continue to promote a healthier harbor in Baltimore, and hopefully host more swims. I want to see some 1 miles, 2 miles, all sorts of different swims happening in our harbor.
I love that. I love everything about it. Swimkatie.com, again, is the website. Katie, you're incredible. I can't wait to be following along, and I promise at some point I will get in the water. I'll do it. I'm wearing a bodysuit, but I'm going to do it.
Get on a boat. I'll take you out there.
I will be in touch. I'm down. I cannot swim like you can, though. So I can't.
You don't need to. And it was safety first. We'll do it on a good day, and we'll just swim around. That's all right. But I'd love to make that happen. If I talk to you again in a few months and we haven't gotten in, we're gonna have to get to work.
All right, I'm gonna work with getting a camera out and making this pot happen. Katie, you're the best. Thank you for taking the time for us, and let's be in touch about that and just the swim in general. Thank you so much.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Katie Pumphrey, who's awesome. I can only say that so many times. She's incredible. I want to be Katie Pumphrey when I grow up. She's unbelievable. Appreciate her taking the time. And again, go to swimkatie.com in order to find out more. As she's doing it again, 24 miles from the bay to the harbor. Whew. I'd be terrified, man. I mean, I can't swim that distance. Like, start with that. I can't do it. But boy, it's just terrifying to me. I'm like, I can swim. I'm not a strong swimmer. Like, just the thought is, I don't get the anxiety about it, but even the thought of that gives me anxiety. All right, winding down for hour number 2 of the program. There were a couple sports questions, trivia. Your boys were champions again last night.
Congratulations.
Big winners.
Yeah, sorry I couldn't make it.
Yeah, the final was a sports question, and I was nervous.
Uh-oh.
Nervous. So I'll run those by Griffin when we come back in as we wind down for a Tuesday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. There, you just saved money with Easy Pass, all without slowing or receiving a notice in the mail. Well done, thrifty driver, well done. Get your Easy Pass at DriveEasyMD.com.
Baltimore's Classic 5 golf courses make golf fun and affordable. All 5 local courses, Pine Ridge, Mount Pleasant, Forest Park, Carroll Park, and Clifton Park, are challenging and fun for players of all skill levels. Book your tee time today at classic5golf.com.
March is a slam dunk at Live Casino. Catch all the basketball action and more at Sports and Social. Enter our $80,000 Dolce & Gabbana giveaway on March 28th. And catch the Baltimore baseball jersey giveaway March 31st. Take your shot at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. At Arundel Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Glenn Clark and I sit down for a Q&A with Orioles owner David Rubenstein, discussing what he learned from his first year as owner, his goals both on and off the field, and his involvement in baseball decisions. Also inside, Brooks DeBose profiles new Oriole Tyler O'Neill, and we meet college lacrosse players from around the state. Press Box is available for free at over 500 locations throughout the region, including 60 Royal Farms stores, or you can read the entire issue online at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the O's, Ravens, and Terps.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Tuesday edition of the program. I guess just on the Maryland front, we didn't talk about the fact that obviously everybody put their name in the transfer portal.
Oh.
Everybody.
Yeah. Well.
Now, that's what did you think they were going to do?
Charge the game.
There's not a coach. There's not an athletic. What are they going to do? Be like, yeah, I'm definitely staying at Maryland. The truth is that players put their name in the transfer portal even when there is a coach and there is a to the point. Any of these guys are available, and to say they you could get them back. I know Rodney Rice's dad spoke to Inside MD Sports. I think Jacoby Gillespie's dad spoke to the Diamondback and said, with the right coach, the Gillespie one always seemed like it was way more uphill because even in a perfect situation at Maryland, there was going to be some heavy interest from Tennessee, Kentucky, some other big-time schools. Now you add Villanova to that list, it seems really unlikely that you're able to keep Jacoby Gillespie. But who knows? I mean, he seemed to enjoy his time here. Rodney Rice is a bit more local, and so it would make a bit more sense for him. But again, you got to hire a coach. I understand what Patrick's talking about. It's funny because, I posed both sides of the spectrum to him. Patrick's saying this is a marathon, not a sprint. You accept that this year is going to be a wash, and a lot of people say that. Except the part of me that says, but do you? Or do you almost say the hell with marathons anymore? Like, we need to treat this the way that it is. This is college basketball. Everything is a set of 1 year. Yes, in a perfect world, you find your guy that's going to be your coach for 25 years. Who doesn't want that? But if you find a guy that's going to be here for 3 years, and in those 3 years he, goes to a Final Four and wins a Big Ten, you're not going to complain too much about it. Not that you're looking specifically for the guy that's going to be here for 3 years. I want to make that abundantly clear. I I still maintain that it's totally possible. The best thing for you to do isn't to make the right hire big picture-wise. It's to make the hire that's going to get you basketball players that you think you can compete with next season. Which doesn't mean, as I know I bring up Mark Byington's name, one, we don't even know if it's Edwards, right, is the star player from Vanderbilt. Like, we don't even know if he's going to come back to college or if he's going to go to the draft. So I'm bringing up his name, but, like, we don't even know. I'm saying that one of the questions that I would be asking when I have these conversations is, tell me who you're confident you can bring with you. And at what cost? Do you know that this guy's going to go with you if we match the money that they would be like? Do you know that? That would be a conversation that I'd be having. Yes, I know we're supposed to say exactly what Patrick said. Get the right hire. If that means this year's sunk, then this year's sunk. But get the right guy. And Patrick certainly seemed very high on Tony Skinn. I know a lot of people pointed out that Dwayne Simpkins got an extension last night, and that probably takes him out of the running. I don't know. Again, as I said before, the Patriot League to Big Ten is unprecedented. If Steve Blake's going to be a candidate, though, yes, Dwayne Simpkins, certainly checks boxes.
Jason Edwards, by the way.
Jason Edwards,
yes.
That's exactly
and
what I was
apparently
thinking.
he put his name into the portal
and
as well
draft,
as
yes.
as
And
well
that's I think what
yeah.
most guys are doing at this point is
Jameer
just
Young
like
did that, right? Yeah.
Yes, Jameer Young did that at one point. That's because they're all acknowledging the same thing.
Or
he
didn't go into the portal, but yeah, he went into the draft and then came back.
Well, he came back, but I thought he also put his name into the portal too.
Oh, he did?
I think that's just what you do now.
Yeah.
Like the bid is everybody's here for 1 year. Yeah, we can be back.
Unless you're Julian Reese, of course. Then you.
Well, but even Julian Reese, like I think that even guys like that might be like, look, man, I want to be here, but we just got to make sure that this works. And the price that you got me at last year might not be the price that you get me at this year based on what I did on the floor last year. Everybody's telling you we're all available. We're all available. So we'll see. But yeah, everybody did put their name in the transfer portal yesterday. Not unexpected. And the one commit that Maryland did have, Chris Jeffrey from Mount Zion, also decommitted. Which, again, yes, that's the way they don't. Who's the coach? Could you imagine if they called the kid up and the kid was like, "Yeah, I don't care. I don't care. I'm going to Maryland." Well, yeah, I'm just going. That's the way this is going to go. That's just the reality of the circumstances. Trivia last night. One of the sports questions, very easy. What two teams opened the season in Japan?
That would be the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Doyers.
And the Chicago Cubbies.
Yes. Both.
Did you get that?
Yes, I got
that. Okay. You could have called me up, I guess, if you needed.
The other one, ooh, boy. Nervy moments for your pal on this one. Really, I don't normally sweat things related to trivia, but I was sweating on this one. Final question. We had a 3-point lead going into the final question.
Final sports question, too. Huh?
Final question. Again, you can wager up to 15 points on the final. Making a quick appearance in this year's NCAA tournament and last appearing in a Final Four in 2003. Which university holds the record of 39 for most men's NCAA tournament appearances without winning the national championship? Again, the data that you have to work with. Quick appearance in this year's tournament.
That makes me think first
one piece of data. Last appeared in a Final Four in 2003. Hold the record 39 NCAA men's tournament appearances without winning a national championship. That's the data that you have to work with.
That makes me think first four. And the two losers there, I think, are pretty legitimate. Like those could certainly be answers here. I'm trying to think. I don't think either of them has won a national championship. I could very well be wrong. Or they just lost in the first round. Also,
that would be quick.
Yeah, that would be quick.
Be one game.
That'd be a quick out, and I can't think of like who has it, like who's been to so many tournaments. And I have no clue who was in the 03 Final Four. So that was the year after Maryland won. Gosh. I'm just gonna go ahead and go with Xavier.
Xavier. Victorious in the Final Four, or in the first four, so they probably be hard to say they had a quick.
Yeah, I guess. All right, so you're saying it's not
Xavier.
Xavier. Darn it.
Not Xavier.
Is it Texas then?
Texas is the correct answer.
Darn it.
Now, this is the funny part.
Those were the two I was between.
I could not go just first four in this answer because I was to the point. Like, if they just lost,
the whole bracket.
If they lost in the first round, so the part that I was working around was the 2003 Final Four. That was what I was working with because this is back when we still thought Maryland had the chance to reach the Final Four every year because they had been in the previous two Final Fours. So this is an era where I can still remember the teams that made the Final Four. Whereas if you ask me who was in the 2011 Final Four,
who was in the Final Four last year?
Last year? Christ. UConn, Purdue.
Yeah.
Two
more, you got it.
Yeah, I'm aware. Chill.
There's two left.
I am utterly blanking on who else was in the Final Four last year.
Well, I didn't know it off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I know who they were. You ready?
No.
Oh, okay.
UConn beat because it was a blowout, right? In the Final Four, didn't they win
UConn
comfortably?
blew out everyone.
Yeah, they.
I'm just gonna check my work.
Oh, you're not certain?
Well, no, I'm pretty certain. You want to write it down so I can.
Yeah, write it down so you can prove it. It was last year's was in.
The one you're gonna definitely kick yourself.
I'm gonna definitely kick myself because it was. Oh, yeah, NC State.
Yep,
Right. Yeah,
NC State,
because
yep.
of Burns. Yeah, NC State, right. The other one was it was Alabama.
Yep. There you go.
Man, it was Alabama.
Bama lost to UConn by 14, and NC State lost to Purdue.
Phew. And the year before that was the crazy year. That was Florida
UConn,
Atlantic, San Diego State.
San Diego State.
Yeah.
And whoever the third team was.
Who was the other? We all, of course, remember those two teams because they played each other.
Yeah.
And that was the Butler hit
been,
God, who was the fourth team in the Final Four 2 years ago?
Oh, Miami.
Oh, of course, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it was Miami. Anyway, the 2003 Final Four, we all remember Syracuse won in 2003. That was the Carmelo Anthony year. And do you remember who the other teams were in the Final Four in 2003?
Me, no.
I did. I went 4-for-4 in 2003 Final Four teams.
Duke, Connecticut.
No, Kansas was one of them, and Marquette was the other, which we would remember because Dwayne Wade was at Marquette.
And they obviously had a quick out as well.
So, the problem being, I know Marquette won a national championship with Al McGuire in the 70s. Well, I thought I knew that. I was stressed between the two of them, right? Because obviously once I figured out, I was pretty sure these were the Final Four teams. And then I was stressed. Stressed about it. Because obviously we knew that Syracuse and Kansas had won national championships. But then I was like, is it possible that I just think that Marquette won a title under McGuire, but it never did? So I defaulted to Texas.
Okay.
And then they were like, well, why don't we wager nothing? Because you don't seem certain. And then you got to stand on business, right? You got to, once that happens, you can't.
It was Texas.
You got to be the sports guy. And that's exactly what I said. I'm like, well, we can't lose because of the sports guy. As it turns out, no one else knew the answer and nobody else wagered anything. And so if we had wagered nothing, we would have still won.
But what did you guys wager?
Oh, we went all in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's what I said. I'm like 10 toes down, man. You can't. This is because in this scenario, so
you guys ended up winning by $1 billion.
Even if we got it right and wagered 0 and lost, then I'm the sports guy that didn't deliver the the sport. And you can't live that way. You just can't be that guy.
Step up to the plate.
If it's something else, if it was a question about, the politics, the Bible, whatever, I'll live.
Actually, you know the Bible.
I know, I'm the Bible guy, apparently. If it's anything else, fine. And we don't get it, I'll live. I'm still very disappointed that one of the questions last night was what were the 4 Stevie Nicks songs from the 1980s that were top 10 hits on the Billboard Hot 100, and we only got 2 of them.
Edge of 17.
No.
That's 70s?
No. Only hit number 11.
Oh.
I assure you, we guessed edge of 17. I assure you that we went with it.
I like Brent. That's Brent Rooker's walk-up song.
Is it? That's a good one.
Yeah.
We also screwed up because one of our guesses was a Fleetwood Mac song. We screwed it up. It was not a solo
80s,
song.
Specifically 8. I don't know.
Specifically
if
80s. Yeah, just 80s Joel. Right.
Might
That's what
be,
we're working with.
be
here.
out of Stevie Nicks. Only
Stand Back was one of the other obvious. To me, Edge of 17 was an obvious one.
Yeah.
Stand Back was the other obvious one to me. I'm like, those are her biggest hits. And then we were like,
Either?
no, Stand Back was definitely. And then Stop Dragging My Heart Around with Tom Petty was an obvious one. And then we talked about Leather and Lace, but we ended up going with Gold Dust Woman, which it turns out Fleetwood Mac song, not Stevie Nicks. I mean, she's obviously in Fleetwood Mac, but not a solo song. So, whew, boy. We won. That's all that matters.
Well, good job.
We won.
Yeah, no, it sounds,
we were victorious.
Sounds dramatic. And
Victorious.
what, you guys ended up winning by like 50 then, since you got
no,
the
we can
final,
only wager up to 15. We were up by 3, and we wagered 13 because you always wager the difference, like to make sure that you would stay in first place.
You didn't go all in then.
Nervy moments. Really nervy moments. Oh, yeah, and we suck. Oh, yeah, this is good. Proctor reminds me, one of the questions that we got wrong last night, the southernmost point.
Yeah, why is he talking smack to me about
in Maryland?
Binoculars now? You're not allowed.
Did he?
You're not allowed to bring binoculars to
what did he
sporting
say?
events ever.
If you go to a UFC event and don't bring binoculars to get a better look at Max Holloway's bulge, are you even a fan, bro?
Well, he has a cup on. It's not his bulge.
Yeah, right.
But yes, we were looking at
Asked
that.
if we could get the ladies to come on the show to heckle you. I would like that. I would love it a great deal. Although, again, one of them was pretty sweet on Griffin. So I don't want to. If he's not interested, I don't want to go down that road. We're not going to seek out those women. If you are, then we can seek out those ladies. If not, we won't seek them out. We will comfortably move on. Proctor says, "Who the F watches commercials anyway?" Yeah, that's the point. They're trying to get you to watch the commercials. That's why they're screwing with the kickoff. It's because they want you to stay and not run to the bathroom. They want you to wear a diaper during your football viewing on Sundays. That's what they're looking for, is just diapers. Or take your phone in with you to the bathroom.
Like a normal person.
Yes, to watch the commercials. They want you watching commercials. All right, very good. What the southernmost point in Maryland is the town of Crisfield, which is located in what county?
St. Mary's.
That's what we went with.
Oh, it's not.
We were
St.
very
Mary's?
when you think of Southern Maryland, you think of St. Mary's County.
So is it on the other side of the?
It's on the other side of the bay.
Jeez.
Yeah, the other side of the
that
bay.
would of course be. That's not Dorchester. That'll be Wycomico.
It's not Wacomico. It is.
It's not Queen Anne.
There's like
It's
4.
definitely not Dorchester. It's Charles.
No.
Is that north?
Somerset County.
Oh, my sister's gonna be mad at me. She lives in Somerset Hall at
Oh yeah.
at Maryland.
That's a real.
Should have known that
That's
one.
a real problem. All right. You got a tidbit?
Yeah, I do.
Let's do it.
Got a few. Because I feel like I'm kind of like backed up since we didn't really get into anything.
Well, that sounds
yesterday.
like you need to eat some prunes or something. I don't.
Austin Wells hit a. He became the first catcher to ever bat leadoff in Yankees history last week on opening day. He also became the first catcher in MLB history to hit a leadoff home run on opening day. First time a catcher has ever hit a leadoff home run on opening day in Major League Baseball history. Only the 21st cat.
Yeah, I was gonna
home
say.
run.
I guess
only the 21st home run ever by a leadoff catcher. The last catcher to hit a leadoff home run. 2022.
How am I supposed to know?
Kansas City Royal.
Oh, Salvi.
No, he wasn't batting leadoff.
That's right. Who?
MJ Melendez.
Oh, right, yeah.
Of course. MJ Melendez.
Sure, of course. I'm supposed to remember that MJ Melendez was batting leadoff.
Orioles have tied. This goes back to opening day on Thursday. They have tied the record now for longest streak of 10 runs scored, 10 or more runs scored on opening day. 3 straight seasons with 10+ runs scored on opening day.
How about that?
They tie the 1893 to 1895.
Brooklyn Bridegrooms.
The Reds, actually. The Reds. And then the 94 to 96.
Is it Brooklyn? They were the Akron Bridegrooms, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite team.
The Bridegrooms?
I love the Bridegrooms.
So yeah, that's the.
I would really like
Orioles
to
have
By the
a
way,
chance
did you see the
history next
Did you see the bit that the PLL did this morning?
I did not.
Oh, they put out some April Fool. Look, dude, there's few things. I know I'm an old man, and I know people laugh at me about that, but like, there's few things that are more annoying to me than April Fool's Day is. It's just bad. But the real problem that comes with April Fool's
City
Day
Edition.
is that people put out things that you're like, yes, do that. Like there was a beer company that did put out like a soup line for April Fool's Day. Like, no, go make that beer, make that soup.
The Philly cheesesteaks.
But yeah, the Old Bay Whip Snakes jersey.
Oh my God, that would be great.
Fire. They screwed up here.
The Baja Fish taco.
We gotta have it.
I like the Boston Dunkins.
Gotta have. Yeah, I mean I don't care about
the
it.
Denver Coors Banquets.
Gotta have it, man. Gotta pull it off.
Is that the New York Bagels? Is that what that's supposed to be? I don't know what the other ones
I don't care.
What's Carolina's thing supposed to be?
Don't. You've lost me already. I only care
Well,
about
now I
want to
see. Well, the Utah and Carolina ones I don't understand.
All right, just get to the whatever you were doing.
Boston Cannons, but make it Dunkin'. Yeah, Maryland Old Bay cheesesteaks. Yeah, Coors Banquet. I like that. I don't understand the Utah Archers, but make it Swig.
Whatever Swig. I don't.
Stop.
Just move on.
Well, no, I'm almost to the.
It was the
now.
Brooklyn Bridegrooms. I was right the first time.
Good job.
Thank you.
Barbecue. Okay, that's the Carolina barbecue is the theme for Carolina.
And they have the worst barbecue.
Don't say it to their face.
Oh, I say it to them. Ottenheimer I used to fight about it all the time. I know what I want.
Why was he
Let's
big
take
on
all of the taste out and just dump vinegar on it.
Ugh. That's not what they do, is it?
It's more or less. God, Carolina barbecue sucks, man. Like, I'd almost rather not have barbecue than have Carolina barbecue.
Kansas City guy? Or
Of course I'm a Kansas City guy, but like South Carolina barbecue, Memphis, like any.
Now I want Mission barbecue.
By the way, we were at Mission not that long ago. There are places that I prefer to Mission, like around here.
Sure.
But I don't. It's fine as a chain place goes, and I appreciate their mission, if you will. And my kids wanted to power rank all of the sauces.
Well, yeah, duh.
So we definitely had a sauce.
I mean, I'd have to do that every time, even though I somehow don't remember which ones I
all
like.
of the sauces. Then they suggested we do like a barbecue tour of like every barbecue place in the state of Maryland
That's a
to
good
power
idea.
rank all of their sauces, and I was like, "You guys are onto something." Colson, get that sold.
Yeah. So Braden Smith, first player in NCAA tournament history with multiple 15 assists NCAA tournament games. First player ever to have at least two games.
Sure, Steve Blake didn't do it. Sure.
Not twice. He didn't do it twice. But yeah, Braden Smith. Also, did you see? So apparently yesterday he was at the whatever the Purdue rec center is, and he was just playing basketball with the students.
That's cool.
Yeah,
That's
and
cool.
he was dunking on him like it was.
I tell you, when I was when I freshman year at UMBC, they had a kid named Peter Mulligan who had been like player of the year in New York and somehow ended up at UMBC. And my buddy Josh and I were just like messing around shooting in the rack, and like the basketball players were like, "Well, we're getting a run in," and I don't know, it's probably September or whatever. And we're like, "Oh, sorry, we'll get out of your way." They're like, "Well, no, we need more." And like my fat ass, I'm like, okay, I guess.
Well,
and so we like got a run in with some of the guys in the basketball team, including Peter Mulligan, and they, of course, it would work out this way. My team was Skins.
Why'd they just say you guys are Skins?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like.
And you wouldn't. It's not like you'd be able to.
Like
tell.
there was, it's not like my buddy Josh was in peak physical condition either.
Did they
like,
mix you guys? So that was.
Yeah, well, I was on one
yeah,
team,
yeah.
he was on the other team,
Okay.
and so we were just gonna defend each other. That was the way that it was gonna go. But I was in there battling for rebounds, like against like dudes that were definitely
7 feet tall.
not. Come on, it's UMBC that we're talking about. But like
Well,
I was,
every team's got a 7 foot.
I was in there because like I was definitely not gonna be the shooter, so I had to do something that offered something to the team. So I was like, I'm gonna go in there and fight. Like I'm gonna go I'm throwing myself around against, and they were wilding out. Like they were losing their minds about the effort that I was putting in to trying to get rebounds. I couldn't get up the floor, but like, and so they started calling me Jelly Roll because of my physique. But there was also a basketball player at the time who had the nickname Jelly Roll. Now I can't remember who it was. And they were like, "Yo, you play like Jelly Roll," and I was like, "Sure."
Yeah, like the rapper.
No, not.
Sorry, the country singer.
Definitely not a rapper.
Sorry, the country singer.
Might have tried being a rapper at one point.
Well, he was a rapper.
Lance
Jones was tweeting and then at Braden Smith saying that doesn't count. You have to do it in a game because he was dunking on students, not in a real game. He hasn't gotten a dunk yet, Braden Smith. So
it wasn't Isaiah Washington. This would have been before.
Tennessee scored. While you figure that out, Tennessee scored 15 points in that first half of the Elite Eight game. That was against Houston on Sunday. Fewest first half points in an Elite Eight game since seeding began in 1979. So just a miserable outing for Tennessee against Houston. As we got all chalk.
We can only pray that will continue for opponents taking on Houston.
Yeah,
I don't think
pray. I don't think it's gonna.
You settle down over there.
I'd be willing. I might even bet them race to 15.
We don't need that attitude. We don't need that energy in our lives.
Stat that means nothing here, but Aaron Judge got intentionally walked with the bases empty on Sunday. Yeah, Sunday. That is the first ever. Comes from Cespedes Family Barbecue, of course. The first ever intentional bases empty walk in March in Major League Baseball history.
Believe it?
No one's ever intentionally walked somebody
Sure.
in March with the bases empty. Until Judge, of course. And then Marlins, we talked about their walk-offs. They become the 5th team with their first 3 wins of the season, all via the walk-off. Joining?
The Bridegrooms.
No, not the Bridegrooms. The Reds from 1900.
A lot of Reds.
The Reds from 1900.
Heavy on the Reds, yeah.
The 1914 Kansas City
Monarchs.
Packers.
Oh, yes.
Kansas City Packers.
Yes.
1914, 1998 Mets, and the 2003 Devil Rays.
Ah, sure.
And
Are we still doing tidbit? How is this still going
because
on?
I told you I had a lot that I needed to get through. I had a lot that I needed to get through here. Let's see. Oh, yeah, this is an interesting one. So it'll be for Houston. It'll be the first time a team plays the Final Four in their home state since...
Butler?
Yep, Butler in 2010. Yeah, wow. What the heck?
Well, I mean, it's just it's the obvious one that we know because famously Gordon Hayward's shot was in Indianapolis, and it would have been the most unbelievable moment in basketball history. But
all right, here we go. Second to last one, finally.
God, second to last?
So batting ninth, Carson Kelly yesterday hit for the cycle for the Cubs over the
But he did it in a
Sacramento
minor
Rays.
league baseball stadium, so I'm not really sure what we make
Why
of
wouldn't
that.
that not count?
Yeah.
Like
Did you see the
professional dimension?
Did you see the setup for press conferences in Sacramento?
Oh yeah.
Got
It's a shed out back.
They got the she shed. God,
it's a he shed actually.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Or it's an everyone shed. I'm sure.
It's
a
they shed, I guess is what we call that.
And I think it was Lawrence Butler they were interviewing, and he was like, "Yeah, they got Oakland A's stuff everywhere." And he's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I mean, athletics logos everywhere. It feels." He's like, "It feels major league."
Yeah. Sure does.
But yeah, Carson Kelly, there's the 4th cycle out of the 9-hole ever. Of course, joining.
Sure. Felix PA.
Sean Figgins? Is that how you say it?
Sean. 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 Yeah, it's Chone.
Yeah,
It's not Chone. It's Sean, but it's like more like it is basically Sean.
Okay.
Right.
Sean Figgins, Jeff Fry, and Charlie Moore.
Ah, sure.
Of course.
If
We know
you
all
say
of them.
so. Yes. Well, I know one.
And then what's? Oh wait, I got to get my Brady Signal one as well. First pitcher.
Jesus.
First Reds pitcher with a scoreless outing of 7 innings in his Reds debut since 1977. Other Reds pitcher, Reds debut 1977.
It didn't have to be a major league debut.
No, not a major league debut.
Tom Seaver.
Yep, Tom Seaver. There you go. You know your Reds.
I mean,
a lot of big Reds tidbit afternoon here. And then what's his face? Ellie De La Cruz had a pretty big game. 3rd game ever with 3 extra base hits and 1 stolen base for Ellie De La Cruz. Most games by a player under 24 years old.
Oh, sure.
How about all time? Only 2 guys have ever had more 3 extra base hit and 1 or more stolen base games.
Ricky Henderson.
Not Ricky Henderson.
I don't know what to work with on this.
I
don't.
Fast guys that also hit extra base hits. Ellie De La Cruz types.
Frankie Lindor.
No.
Mike Trout.
No Mike Trout. I think he's only done it once.
Ichiro.
Not Ichiro.
How about? I really don't. Craig Biggio.
It's a big Red show.
It's a big Red show. Pete Rose.
Not Pete Rose.
Who else qualifies with the Reds?
This guy for the Reds, most all
Barry
time.
Larkin.
Not Barry Larkin. 5 games of 3+ extra base hits and at least 1 stolen base.
Joe Morgan.
Joe Morgan.
Okay.
Most games all time. Ellie De La Cruz hot on his tail though with 3 already.
Okay.
And then one guy had 4 such of these games.
Give me something, man. It's 12:24.
I'm trying to think of a way to not make it obvious. He probably did this when he was younger.
Great.
And he, in the early 90s, I would assume that's when these games were done. I don't have the exact dates, but
Ken Griffey.
Not Ken Griffey.
Did it when he
maybe
was
the mid-90s.
So nothing then. Brady Anderson.
Not Brady Anderson, but this guy probably did some of the same things that Brady Anderson did.
Oh, okay. Sammy Sosa.
Not Sammy Sosa.
Rafael Palmeiro. Barry Bonds.
4 extra base hits. Or 4 games of 3 extra base hits and a stolen base for old Barry Bonds.
All right. Let's get Tubular to wind things down.
Have you ever thought of taking a cruise to these wonderful destinations with sunny skies and beautiful beaches? Well, wait no longer. We're ready for you to cruise from the Cruise Maryland Terminal.
Have a little phrase that you can go from baggage to margarita in about 15 minutes.
Choose fun with an array of destinations, onboard activities, entertainment, and world-class cuisine.
Contact your travel agent and book your cruise today. Let your adventure begin.
All right, here's what's coming up totally tubular-wise for this evening. Thin evening with the Orioles off, but Maryland baseball hosts UMBC at 4 o'clock on Big Ten Network Plus. Baseball tonight, Nationals Blue Jays 7:07 on MASN 2, Diamondbacks Yankees 7:05 on TBS. Cubs Athletics joined in progress late tonight on MLB Network. MLB TV, the free game is Braves Dodgers at 10:10. Alex Ovechkin's pursuit of Wayne Gretzky continues. He's 5 back of tying. Is that where we are? You're supposed to be the 5. DC guy. Capitals Bruins tonight, 7 o'clock on Monumental. ESPN Plus, Hulu, and Disney Plus for Lightning Islanders at 7:30. The Crown continues today. Griffin very excited. Apparently,
you can't bet on it.
Yeah, and that might be because Georgetown sent out a tweet last night due to illness, we're playing with a very limited roster.
I think that was 1 last night, didn't they?
Did they?
Yeah, they almost won.
DePaul, Cincinnati at 3, UCF, Oregon State at 5:30, Villanova, Colorado at 8:30, and Tulane at USC at 11. ESPN2.
Georgetown did win.
I don't know, dog. I couldn't tell you. I think everybody's got a limited roster because a lot of guys just are conscientious.
Well, that's the thing.
Objectors.
It's like, do these guys even care?
Correct.
The guys that
or they're already in the Twitter or the transfer portal or whatever. Is it a bowl game situation where they're saying,
is Willard coaching tonight for Villanova?
No, but he was there. He was there. They showed him in the stands yesterday. The high school All-American games are tonight, 9 o'clock for the boys game on ESPN, 6:30 for the girls game on ESPN2. Also the NIT semifinals on ESPN, the first, North Texas, UC Irvine at 7.
See, those games matter.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, there's
those we can bet on, guys.
Correct. Loyola Chicago, Chattanooga at 9:30 on ESPN2. TNT and True TV for Suns Bucks at 7:30, Timberwolves Nuggets at 10, and then USA for Wolverhampton Wanderers and West Ham at 2:45. CW for WWE NXT tonight at 8. Non-sports.
So I think I'm in good shape to not lose the women's challenge.
Because USC is officially out.
Yeah, USC unfortunately lost last night. But Stetka's doing pretty bad. Proctor, did he close his eyes and make picks? I'm not really sure.
What was his final four?
He has one of his picks is still alive, so he's still very much alive if South Carolina wins it all to not lose.
Oh, because he picked Carolina to win
it all.
He
has 690 points right now.
Oh.
I'm in first with 1090. So
right.
I know obviously I know.
Yeah, you know ball.
Yeah,
right.
And if Juju Watkins doesn't get hurt, I'm probably in really good shape.
That's too. Well, what happened?
Well, she got hurt.
Okay.
But and they still almost won last night.
They did. They almost. Well, yeah.
They cut it to 5.
Right. They did. They got back in it.
Yeah. But yeah. So it looks like it's probably either Stetka or Proctor, based on how the cards are falling here. So if South Carolina wins, how many points do you get for a Final Four win?
I don't know.
16. Yeah, or 160 in this. So yeah, Proctor really needs just one win for South Carolina is enough. He would need them to win it all in order to surpass Stetka.
Okay.
And probably Stetka to not get I think Stetka still has a pick alive though. So. So it's not. He really needs. Actually, he might be. Let me
we don't have time. Deal with it later. We'll talk about
South Carolina.
Deal with it later. Just tell me what's coming up non-sports.
Not a whole lot.
Anything?
Daredevil Born Again. We got a new episode of that tonight on Disney Plus. And Kevin Bacon's gonna be on Fallon. Yeah.
Promoting actually Bacon
really?
This time. Yeah, he's just a big.
There's a show coming out later this week, I think.
He's did you guys know this is my name?
Prime Video called The Bondsman. And
by the way, one of the best parts of the SNL thing was Alec Baldwin saying, "Hi, it's Alex Baldwin. I probably should have told you guys that years ago." Very good bit.
Is it a good bit?
Did you miss it?
His name is actually Alex Baldwin.
That was the bit. The bit is, hi, I'm Alex Baldwin. I probably should have mentioned that to you guys a few years ago. It was a good bit.
All right, sure.
Okay.
That one didn't land for me.
Boy.
Well, Alex Baldwin, yeah, whatever.
It's outstanding. Just get to it.
The bondsman, so he's a murder.
It's about Barry
bounty
Bonds. Yes,
hunter.
I'm very familiar.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, you
keep
know.
going. What else?
He's a murder. No, that's really it. Adam Scott and Senator Adam Schiff will be on Jimmy Kimmel.
They're promoting Barry Bonds. They're just
Why?
plugging. They're
big
fans.
Push the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, right. They want him in.
Okay, all right.
That's
cool.
it.
Yeah.
Very good?
Yeah, that's
very good. Thanks today to Steve Blake. Thanks also to Patrick Stevens and Katie Pumphrey. We'll get it all up in the greatest hits section of the
Can You Take Me Higher
tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Anything tomorrow? Oh, boy. All right, Stuff and Things. Stuff and Things on the program tomorrow. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Don't forget, Reed and Glenn tonight, 6 to 8, 105.7 The Fan, including book club for the search for the something. I don't remember.
For the
Apple
cider vinegar?
Belle Gibson. What's the show called? It's called, God.
Oh, because that was the name of the actual
The
show.
Search for Instagram's Worst Con Artist.
I think they made it. They made like a TV show called Apple Cider.
Yes, it's a fictionalized version of the story. Yeah. The Search for Instagram's Worst Con Artist is the name of this documentary. It was meh. We'll talk about it tonight. Thanks, everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Live Casino and Hotel, Cruise Maryland, Crown Trophy, Easy Pass, Baltimore's Classic 5 Golf Courses, HelpMyGamblingProblem.org, Costas Inn, Maryland Sports, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Tuesday evening. Go Maryland or UMBC baseball. Duke sucks.